My name is Cody Robinson.
And I'm Hamid Thompson, and welcome to Keep It Going.
Keep It Going.
We end it Keep It Going together.
Keep It Going.
Yeah.
And this is our guest, Isaac Hughes.
Hey.
We had our first three, and he's on our fourth one. And we had a technical snafu today.
Yeah,
we were trying to get this thing going, but we had a cable that went out, and it actually ended up being just an FX thing that was going on. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, anybody that's starting watching this, I've got this going on. I think we're like at a 15, 20-second delay or something like that. So if you could, comment and like and all that kind of stuff and ask questions as we get to go in. It's going to be a little bit lighter today. We're going to try to keep it not so serious. I don't know.
Fuck white people.
Sometimes we can't.
Let's get that shit out the way right fucking now. I was just kidding.
Man,
Dude, good start.
So, dude, Isaac got here at at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. I mean, he's a little late, but we're not going to give him on that. Yeah, but it's like now an hour and 50 minutes later, and we're started, but we are live.
Yeah.
We are live.
Okay, great.
All right, so let's get it started.
So while we were working through this, at one point, Cody left to go buy another cord that was messed up, and Isaac and I started talking, and we were talking about some like animated stuff, and long story short, we ended up getting to Game of Thrones. So right now we're on Game of Thrones, and I wanted to point out, because Isaac doesn't want to start it watching it. If you want to get into that for a second, you can.
It's just between the spoilers and the hype, it's like I don't what's even to look forward to, and then sometimes you start back on a show that was like good if you see it in a certain window, but doesn't really date well as far as like, you watch the last season and it looks more visually like what you're kind of up to speed with, as opposed to when you go back to like the first season of The Simpsons and they're kind of moving funny and animated, but then you go down like 50 seasons later and everything's kind of smooth.
Yeah.
They've kind of figured themselves out and got their legs underneath them. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just kind of hard to go back, but when you go through it at the time, it's like that gradual progress is kind of subliminal, but it's so blatant when you go back. It's like playing an old video game for the first time. Oh my goodness, geez. Oh, this is how you back out? I think damn, they're using triangles still? This is crazy. Okay, cool. But yeah, between that and the spoilers are ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I like being kind of in the dark and not knowing what's going to happen, and that's kind of out the window now.
Well, so yes, I agree with all that for sure. When it comes to Game of Thrones in particular, I want to cover that because I think you're doing exactly what you need to be doing regarding that. You should not watch it. I only say that because the last 3 seasons were not what the rest of the show were. It was a completely different vibe. Like it wasn't fully immersive. I mean, there's random good moments periodically, but the characters weren't believable. The story seemed rushed, and it was just not the same. It was bad, and it ruined the buildup of the first 5 seasons, right? And even parts of 5 weren't quite there. But
Star Wars did.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, Star Wars is bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and they had everything, all the resources to make it work and make it more of a timeless thing. Like, look at Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings films were amazing and still are. You could watch them today.
Yeah.
And they hold up
That
great.
first trilogy is... I was literally watching scenes from that about a week ago.
Yeah.
Did you see the Zoom call with all the different characters from Lord of the Rings?
No.
And they were all doing like their best interpretations, and the guy that did Gimli, his camera was always like here up. He's like trying to look up over the camera the entire time with his helmet on. It's so funny. It was really funny.
That's great. Well, yeah, I should check that out. I haven't seen it. But
we've got 5 viewers, by the way. People are
cool.
watching. We're live, guys.
Oh, great. Wait, I don't see it.
So I messed at the beginning because like you said, hey, did you make it available to everyone? And I was like, yes, I haven't yet. And then I didn't whenever so I had to go back and go live again. But
That's
we're good.
hilarious.
We're good now.
I didn't even realize that.
We got 6 whole viewers. So me and you plus 4 people. Oh my God.
Yeah, cool.
How's everybody doing? Just leave us a comment and stuff. Ask us some different questions, what you want us to talk about. Otherwise, we're just going to take off. And as we see stuff, we'll change topics and stuff.
So anyway, we were talking about Lord of the Rings and how it's still an awesome film.
Yep.
Game of Thrones screwed up I would say Westworld really screwed up. I don't know if you guys seen Westworld.
Never actually watched it.
I didn't get into it. I remember being in love with the trailer and looking forward to it coming out, but by the time it did, I don't know. It's just another one that I
watched the
missed
first 3 episodes. I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't understand why I should like this show. Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings, but Game of Thrones was one of those where I just like, I got so into it after the first season, and I was hooked and I watched every season after that. But like you said, the last 3 seasons went downhill in the sense that they got more spectacular and grand and more like action movie, right? And then they became a lot less about the nuance in the storyline. Like they became a lot less about the interpersonal relationships because like the first, like I'd say season like 3, 4, and 5, which are like the best seasons in my opinion. 2 is really good too. But when they got their money and they were still worried about like the little finite.
They had an identity
details.
still, yeah,
for sure. And that was the best part about it to me.
It's difficult to do.
Yeah, and I think another thing, what some people were saying, I know I'm playing footsie with you here. What a lot of people were saying is that they felt as that the guys were wrapping up for some type of movie that they were going to be working on or something.
Oh yeah, they're apparently the writers were working on Star Wars,
that's right.
and also there weren't books. So
that explains why both of them suck. So
yeah, right.
Well, there you go. You did
and apparently they also did the Wolverine film,
which is a really good film.
Logan was a really good film.
Logan.
I thought you were talking about Logan. I thought you were talking about Logan.
Walk off set, man.
Like, get out of my life.
Because God damn it, Cody.
I just thought the last one, which was Logan, but it's really good.
If Logan is probably,
Logan was dope.
I'm sure Hugh Jackson pulling his hair out, like, why couldn't we do the first 2 movies? Like, this is crazy.
Right.
Instead of making him play like a babysitter that whole time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but yeah, so Game of Thrones. Oh, so Westworld. I want to go back to Westworld.
So what is Westworld about? Tell everybody what it's about.
So Westworld is basically, it's set in the future. I don't remember if there was a date, some ambiguous future, where there's this theme park called Westworld, where you can pay some ridiculous amount of money to go, and it's like a fully immersive world where everything you're interacting with are basically robots, but they look and feel and act like real humans. And same thing with the animals and stuff. They develop some technology to where they can basically continue to create them and or repair them fairly easily. And you go in and you do whatever you want, right? So you can kill them, you can intercourse with them, you can do all kinds of things.
Hey.
And it's kind of like
it's like a sandbox.
Yeah.
With NPCs.
Sure.
Okay.
Define
non-playable
that.
characters.
Yeah, no, define a sandbox.
A sandbox is where you can kind of go do whatever you want. There's a world that's there, but you can kind of just play the world however you want. It's like there's no storyline.
Well, there are storylines. So there are some story. Basically, the whole thing is a super in-depth storyline, and you can kind of, or a bunch of different storylines, and you can kind of follow whichever little path you want.
It's like real life Skyrim, but in the West.
Yeah,
Red
Dead
Revolver,
kind of,
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So, but you can also do whatever you want in conjunction with that, right? So, so then from there, they play with a few different concepts. So one is a few of them becoming self-aware, right? And in doing so, it kind of plays with the idea that the creators of the park were doing that without the knowledge of some of the investors / owners. And then they also play with them just becoming self-aware on their own, and they're playing with the idea of their memories and dreams, how they think their dreams could be their memories, and just a bunch of stuff. And they're also playing it on different timelines. So it shows that these robots haven't been around for like 50 years, but they still look the same, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to that, there's also the company that's taking information on the guests, right? So they're basically collecting a lot of info, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, the data company, essentially.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Right, exactly.
Advertisements.
Now, I can get a little bit worse and probably ruin some moments for you guys. Are you okay with that?
No, because everybody else is watching this, so they probably don't ruin any moments.
Well, I mean, I don't care because it's not good anymore. They ruined season 3, so.
We don't care about other people.
Okay, so spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen Westworld. And
No, I won't give any spoilers.
I haven't seen it.
I'll stop there. I'm just going to say, I really liked the concept, and I liked the way they did it. I was a huge fan of season 1 too. I really enjoyed it because that was like my type of thing.
Yeah.
I liked all the different levels of new concepts they were playing with, or the combination of concepts they were using. And come season 3, it felt like they took all of the team from season 1 and 2, like from each department, from like everything from your director of photography to your writers or to everybody. I don't know, like every aspect, the editor, the color on the project, everything, the cinematographers, fired them and replaced them with high schoolers.
Oh no.
That's exactly what it felt like. It was horrible. It's just, and I only watched, I think, 3 or 4 episodes, but it was just, I wanted to so bad. I wanted to love it, and it's just garbage. They ruined it. And
so
the
hard to
direction they
sustain.
took
Just the depth
was
and writing or
terrible.
something?
Everything. It was just,
Kind of feels like a
it's all
CW show or
forced
something,
and it's
like,
garbage.
oh.
And I'm just so disappointed.
They're kind of like feeding you the storyline as opposed to letting you kind of like feel it as it's happening.
Yeah, that's one of the many problems.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing that happened in Game of Thrones. It's like
Yeah.
at the end, there's throwing a very like linear storyline at you, like wrapping everything up and like tying all the loose ends. Like, and what they said is the writers or the producers of the show, Weiss and what's his name, they didn't want to do a next season, so they had to like, basically get everything snipped up there at the end without that last season. So they had to do everything that much faster.
Yeah, but there are other problems too. But yeah.
I can't stand it when a show just feels so juvenile. Like you said, replaced it with high school. It just kind of feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's some shows that are meant to be that, like teenage shows and stuff. Like.
Yeah, I wonder how much like the demographics have to do with that. Like how much fan feedback has to do with, like you said, we're getting away from the story now, but more more action now, and more explosions, and like maybe longer fights now, and more people dying, but we don't need to know why. Just look cool.
Yeah, and I also feel like they have to figure out like what type of medium is their show going to be watched on too, and like and what people are going to be doing while they're watching their show. Because it used to be back in the day, like when you watch a television show, you're in it for the commercials, you're in it for all that stuff. You have to watch all that kind of thing going on, and you're watching it on a television, right? And you're probably not doing anything else while you're watching. Now these days it's like everybody's scrolling social media. So some of those shows, like some of the shows that we've been on, like Vampire Diaries, Originals, all that kind of stuff. When in the first couple seasons of that, you could tell it was meant for that younger audience that was like very much like a very easy to follow storyline with lots of like interpersonal drama, but easy to follow. And then you had like Originals where you had to watch it. You had to like watch every single little detail because everybody's related to somebody and all these different items do different things. And but then you get into these other shows where it's like Game of Thrones and whatnot, where it's like if you're not paying attention closely, you miss everything. You miss everything. So like it's like, what do they expect people to be doing? Well, is somebody like going to be multitasking while they're watching their show and just listening to it? Or do you got to be watching it, see the nuance of somebody's face?
But it reached that level of hype where people couldn't wait to tell you, like, I saw the show just ended 3 seconds ago, and I am announcing that I've watched it, and here's exactly what happened. And if you didn't see it, I'm sorry, that sucks for you, but I mean, it's that good that I have to let you know. Also, let you know it's probably going to happen next week, and I just can't even. I know everything about between South Park and what everybody says on social media. I pretty much know Game of Thrones, so I'm like, it's like Lord of the Rings with dicks.
It totally is. The first couple seasons too, and then I think they ran out of nudity money after like season 6.
I think I was bickering with my buddy, just poking at him, and I'm like, it's Lord of the Look at the dragons, the kingdoms, everything. That's just rated R. It's like straight up for adults, and there's no like middle ground. At least Lord of the Rings is like for everybody.
There's also not a lot of like flagrant magic in Game of Thrones. There's like it happens, right? I mean, and dragons exist, but they're almost thought of as like creatures. They're not like just like a magical creature, but they're a creature themselves. Okay. And like, but they're also it's like a lot less just straight up magic. And like think about it, the only magic you see is when the red lady lights everybody's things on fire, and that could be a parlor.
Spoiler.
Well, I mean,
just kidding.
She just lights the sides on fire. It's not a huge deal. It's like not a groundbreaking thing. And that, and whenever they have that like that shadow baby, right? The shadow baby is like the only other thing, which could still be not real magic.
Shadow baby.
Everything that you see in Game of Thrones, it could always be explained as maybe it's not magic, right? You know, like maybe it's just actually
not
science.
everything.
And the way that they approach like knowledge is through that tower, the citadel, where people go and learn about knowledge and like maesters and stuff. So a lot, even like bringing back the thing. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, when they bring that guy back from the dead. Like, did that happen by magic, or was that a parlor trick?
Oh yeah, see, I remember seeing that all online and shit. And like, I don't even watch the show, but I know who that guy is.
Right,
I know that he's returned from the fucking dead, probably to claim some rightful heirship.
But guess what they did with that? Nothing. They ruined it.
Cool.
Freaking nothing.
And they did nothing with Bran.
Bran?
Bran. Yeah, that
with Bramba.
Yeah, Bran. But it's like that one was the worst. Like, what were they doing? They completely didn't give any closure. He didn't take over a dragon. Like, what was he? The whole thing was just garbage.
It's not going to be a good world after Bran takes over. It's like,
but not even that.
I
like,
don't feel
I don't even mind him taking over per se. But it's like the whole buildup of his storyline went to nothing. They didn't complete it at all. They didn't. Why was he being chased? Why was it important? It was like just none of that.
I just hate it because we didn't even see Bran for like 2 seasons, and like all of a sudden now he's the king. You're like, I guess it mattered that nobody that wanted to be king got to be king, but Bran probably wanted to be king. He sees
who
everything.
The fuck these people are.
But
I have no idea who these people are. Not even close. Not in the
We
book.
should stop talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's just
no, it's fine. I
It's
love
garbage. Just be happy and didn't
I've
see
checked
it.
in on the action sequences and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Those are like spectacles in themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're amazing. All that BTS and stuff. But as far as the story goes, it's like I know.
Yeah.
The story.
Did you see that the Battle of Winterfell fight?
Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy.
It was just great, man.
That's
the way
crazy.
they layered the different camera shots and stuff. Like the instead of doing near passes with the horses, they layered the camera shots.
Yeah.
The burns, the everything, just the scale of it. Anything that becomes that big, you can see how hard it is to control 5 people in a room and get them to all be on the same page. Just throw a couple fucking 100 people out there and see what happens. Like,
Then you've got the movie 1917.
oh shit, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
I haven't
God.
seen it yet.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about it, but
I mean, it's like self-explanatory.
watch
right?
that
It's
before
like,
you watch anything else.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's, like,
It's
that's what we're doing?
amazing.
I need to watch it.
You have to. It's genius in every level, in every regard.
Ryan was saying that he saw it twice.
It's amazing. I would see it.
It's probably already out on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
watch
it's out.
watch
I've
it
seen
tonight.
I mean, I
I'm gonna
haven't
watch
seen
it
it, but
tonight.
I've seen
Watch it
ad
tonight.
for sure.
It's amazing.
for sure.
Like you, yeah. But anyway,
So,
sorry.
so guys, make sure to, like I said, leave some questions in here. I see some people coming and going and whatnot. But I think we should start with maybe some current events and whatnot. What's some stuff that's been in y'all's feed that people be talking about?
I mean, I think we should get to know Isaac a little bit because I've never worked with Isaac before, and you know he's our guest. So let's see what he's got going on. You know.
Not much, man. I'm just laying low. Just another stunt guy. gigging it.
Just another
a little
stunt
bit.
guy.
Yeah.
Just another stunt guy.
Dipping my toes in some coordinator waters, watching the world go a little crazy. Just living the dream, man. Living the dream.
How did you get into stunts?
Oh man, I got approached by a buddy we were talking about earlier, Travis, that we just used to goof around. I've known Travis since like 5th grade, so from backyard wrestling, he always knew that getting down physically was kind of my jam. So literally just based off of backyard wrestling and us goofing around all the time, playing pretend and all that, he started linking up with some buddies and they were doing independent films, and he thought I should come out, thought I would like it. So I came out one day and they had me write a couple lines and kind of put me through the ringer.
First day, huh?
Yeah, and I was just like, this is pretty sick. Seeing how serious everybody took it, and yeah, the physicality, the whole 9. So I wound up just doing independent films with them, and then a couple of them worked at Universal, encouraged me to audition for a live show out there. Did that for a couple of years, and eventually made the move to New Orleans, and decided I was going to start doing some big boy auditions, and then things started working out. So fast forward, and now I'm here with my new buddy, and
Married.
hey, yeah. I actually met my wife at my Universal job.
Oh,
What's
nice.
up, baby? If you're watching, I love you.
Was she doing the same thing? Was she also a stunt girl?
Yeah, not a stunt girl, but she was a dancer.
Okay.
Our show was like half stunts, half like ballet, dancing, and stuff like that. So she would come out and do a ribbon thing.
Was that the Arabian Nights show?
That was the Tri-Wizard Spirit Rally.
Is that before Arabian Nights? Because Arabian Nights was a couple years ago.
I think Arabian Nights is before that.
Oh, okay.
I think Arabian Nights has been around, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
too sure. I
They
only stood
ran-
in my
they
little.
ran congruently?
I stood in my little section. Yeah, I knew some people that double dip and triple dipped and all that stuff, but I just kind of came in, went to work, and
Yeah.
unless it was city walk, I was out of there. I'm not big
Yeah.
on roller coasters or long lines
Yeah.
or groups of people, so
Especially now.
or Florida heat. So it's like the combination of the 3 or 4. It's like I'll be all right.
Dude, I could do that Florida heat all
I like
day.
the heat, but if you combine it with lines and inconsiderate people, it becomes like
Yeah, true.
I can
Yeah.
I can go take a walk, sweat my ass off, do the whole 9. I love it.
I didn't grow up too far from there. I grew up there in South Alabama off the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Right there. A little close to a little town called Gulf Shores that was right there by the beach, man. 25 minutes from the beach.
Mm.
So it was like, that's where I met my wife there at the
Sick.
beach too. Something about that hot weather, huh?
No, fuck yeah. Yeah, man, fuck it. I can't do the cold weather. That's anything below 75.
what
it
about
starts
you,
getting
Hamid?
So
suspect.
that's what I was about to say. I don't know. I've been spending a lot of time in the AC, and now going out in the sun for a long day is just a lot.
It's draining.
It's so draining.
It's the humid days, man.
It's just so much hotter than normal.
Well, you also have a lot of hair and beard right now,
that's
too.
true too.
That's
It
just, like,
absorbs it.
keeping the heat
yeah.
in the brain.
This
It's the
thing
humidity,
gets
man.
so hot.
I'm telling you, it's the
And
What if
humidity.
it's like a heat sink though? You know, what if it's not? Like, what if you like did it a certain way and it's like a
Mm.
heat sink on top of like a computer processor? You know, like
I mean, yeah,
it lets the heat.
That's what my
dissipate.
skin is too.
Yeah, I can
Oh my
become
God.
like 5 or 6 different shades.
I mean, if you look at
depending
our
on how much
shades, we ain't that
sun I
different.
get.
Like we ain't
Yeah.
that
like a
different.
happy medium kind of.
And We're
Yeah.
comparing it to the table. We're all
Ish.
Yeah, no, I can't. Ours are kind of close to the
I've
table.
been spending a
like
lot of time
table.
outside. Like
We're
I do a lot
table-y.
of work outside.
I'm gonna go grab some more of this.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
You guys want it?
Yeah, grab us one while
okay.
you're at it.
I'm down.
We'll get started and whatnot.
Down for the cause.
Josh Limboy said, Isaac.
My man, what's going on, brother?
We so what we've been doing every single time. I don't know if have you watched any of the other episodes? Probably
I
not.
haven't. I've been slacking.
Yeah, it's cool. It's
Slacking.
cool. Like I said, we only get like 20, 30 people watch each one. I think last time we had 25 people watch all the way through. And I was like, wow, people are listening to us.
Yeah.
People actually listen to what we have to say. That's interesting.
I actually never see the live. I always see maybe like a post about something that was pre-recorded.
Yeah, that's
but I
why we
never
had the
know.
issues because we haven't done it live yet.
Okay.
You're the first one. So and all of our other ones, the issues have been like a lot more streamlined. We went straight into the issues and we just did like 2 to 3 hours of just like
Yeah.
hardcore, just talking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah. It's but the reason we're doing it is because I think a lot of people, especially if you look online, you have your people that scream really loud online,
Yeah.
right? But they're pretty quiet in person, so
Yep.
they never have in-person conversations with people.
Yeah.
So the goal is like whenever I see somebody that's, but those are people that what I would call ideologues, like people that really have a strong opinion about a certain thing, right? It's like whether it be Black Lives Matter or whether it be conservatism or whether it be leftist ideologies and whatnot, all those different things. But when they get online, when they get to see you in person, those people don't talk to people in person about their opinions.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like we're missing it when we're just talking about it online constantly. Like whenever somebody is just like doing it all over typing and then just reposting memes and reposting articles and reposting videos.
That's when it gets to meme territory. I usually tune out.
Well, you
It's
only
like-
see somebody's most extreme opinions because memes are always appealing to the most extreme.
Yeah.
Right. It's always supposed to be something that makes you go, ooh, like, kind of like makes you laugh or makes you kind of cringe or makes you
It just
something.
gives you the ability to poke fun at anything if
Right.
you like reduce it to like its lowest level, or just
Right.
or if you don't have a valid point and just want to fuck it, I'm getting laughs out of this motherfucker. If anything, yeah, it's like a total bailout.
Yeah, and I noticed like people like you like the troll posts sometimes. You like to just sit there and just shake the cage a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I get bored. I just wonder. I don't know. I just I see the feed, and it's always it's always so divisive, and nobody doesn't seem like people want to be right as much as they want other people to be wrong. Like it
Yeah.
seems so much more satisfying for
Yeah.
instead of having your truth and being comfortable with it, or just kind of being like, well, hey, maybe yada yada. It's like, hey, dumbass, like,
Right.
here's why you're stupid, and here's why like yada yada. I'm fucking guilty of it myself, but it's like
Oh, we've all done it.
when you see it around, it's like it's what you observe, and it's like it kind of blows my mind.
It's all about the culture that's online. It's
Yeah.
online, like Facebook culture. It's a lot different than like if you go on Instagram. Instagram's a little more carefree. It's a little more about like people just like showing their best pictures and stuff, and less about the comments themselves. I feel that way at least. But when you get on Facebook, it's all about news. Like I feel like it's news this, news that. Like not mainstream news, but sometimes. But it's also always some sort of like, hey, this is what I believe. But people always kind of give it a all or nothing kind of principle. Either you agree with me and you're my friend, or if you disagree with me this one thing, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
And people be like, if you believe this, delete me, please. I'm like,
my biggest delete thing has been for people that spoil shit, like I was just talking about. That's my biggest thing. None of the politics stuff, any of that kind of stuff. People get along, please. But it's just like the only time I delete people, or it's like if you're beyond convincing in any kind of way, in like a sad way. It's like sometimes it's like I hear a lot like, I'm voting Democrat or Republican, like forever, yada yada. I'm like, what if the person's like a piece of shit? He's like, just being a Democrat's enough. What if your favorite person right now jumped parties right now?
Right.
Believed everything the same. You would have to swear them off because he's not. It's like, don't be just like so one-sided that you can't be at least like. I can see if you can't be convinced and it's like, fuck, I couldn't change that person's mind, whatever, change your mind. But it's like to not even be open to, it's like, well, this is what I said I'm going to be the whole time, so this is what it is. Even if this changes in the future to what it isn't now, just like, it doesn't matter. I've said this out loud, and I'm a man, damn it. And
well, it's jumping on that team, you know. It's like it's some people, like I said this last time, but it's all ideology. It's like I'm going to pick a side. I'm going to pick a thing that I believe in, and I'm just going to say that's what I believe in it because it's a low resolution representation of the world, right? Yeah. It's easy to think that it's an 8-bit, right? And everything's simple, right? I believe this, I don't believe this. But then when you actually break it down into real, situations and actual real life, what am I trying to say? Resolution. Everything gets really complicated. And then you immediately have to realize that, everybody's position kind of holds a little bit of merit to what they're using it for.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like when you start realizing that, and you start realizing that, there is no particular, nobody has all the truth, right? Nobody has all the truth that's out there. Like everybody's flawed in some way in their view, in multiple ways probably. Like, in my opinion of certain things, like I'm pretty pro-police, and I had to check myself over the last couple weeks. And realize that police corruption was a thing. Like I had to realize that. I had to I'd already realized that, but I didn't give it as much merit until I start seeing some of these anecdotal.
You only knew it for the right reasons. Like you only knew the good on why you signed up for it is what you knew it for.
Right. Like, I was using my anecdotal experience and crime statistics and the news and using criminology reports and all that kind of stuff. And that. I still hold those values true, but I also have to lend credence to this other side that there are corrupt police departments in this country, and there are definitely corrupt officers individually, and people have had terrible experiences with that, and we have to do something to get those people out. And that was something that I didn't focus enough on before. But having these conversations and realizing what people have gone through and whatnot, then I realized that, hey, those things exist too. Two things can be true at one time. It's just to what level, right?
Yeah. That's why speaking is the most important, especially with me and my post. I don't know if you see the type of reactions that I get, but it's like my calmness or my joy or the sarcasm doesn't always come through. And some people that have been around me know I'm fucking around, or they know they know I don't even care about the subject that I'm talking about half the time. But I just want to see, I just want to make people think, or just see what people would say, or I just want to pick people's brains and see what the people that I'm looking at their stuff every day, I want to see what they think and stuff.
Well, that's also why we invited you, man, because I'm starting out doing this thing where I was trying to get people that are just nuanced thinkers, right? People that don't tend to just fall on one side of every issue.
Yeah.
It's like I'm only Democrat on this side, or I'm only Republican. Yeah. It's like I don't like that, and it's not that I'm not judging people for it, but I'm like, hey, listen, we can do a little better in terms of listening to each other.
Right.
And that's why I was like, hey, contacted you, because we did Jefferson first, because Jefferson's always doing the same thing, just putting his opinion out there, and like here this is what it is. Let's talk, right? And then it was Paris and then wait,
George.
And then George, and then you. Sorry, and I was like, wait, I had a brain fart there. But yeah, so the idea is that all those people are independent thinkers, and that's the way I look at it. It's like I want people that are actually struggling and with the issue, or even if you're not struggling with the issue, just open to hearing other people talk about it too.
Yeah,
because everybody just picks that side, man.
Yeah,
there's so much more to it than just one side, and just like you were saying, there's a whole nother world of perspective out there that one other person can have. And hearing that can add so much to your perspective. And, you know, most things kind of live in that gray area of understanding. And sometimes there's not an easy decision to be made. And a lot of people want to make those easy decisions because it takes less time maybe, or...
Oh, it's just,
I mean,
it's just easier.
it's
Like you
easier.
said, it's easier.
Yeah.
It's why people flock to certain religions or groups. It's how people wind up in cults. It's how people get talked into doing crazy ass things. It's how a person will confess to a crime they didn't commit. Just, just get me out of this fucking room. Yeah, it's fucking. It's easier than just being here getting grilled.
And a lot of interrogation techniques are made
yeah,
for that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're
It's like
forcing confessions a lot of times.
yeah, but it's just, it goes to show you just how quickly, just an easy way out, even if it's just fucking 10 minutes of gratification. Like, oh, I'm not getting grilled anymore. Fuck, I'm about to do life, I think. But fuck it.
Did you see Making a Murderer? Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
That's exactly what that was.
That's nuts. Yeah, that kind of stuff is
I need to watch
crazy.
that.
He was a mentally handicapped guy that just had a below average IQ, and they basically convinced him into confessing to a murder that he didn't
He was a
commit.
minor at the time too, right?
And he was a minor,
Like
yeah,
his
something like
parents
that.
weren't around.
17,
Yeah, they did
yeah.
it with his mom not around and all that, and yeah.
That's so messed up.
He pretty much had to call his mom and be like, I confessed to murder. He's like, you didn't kill anybody. He's like, I know, but I was like, it's super sad.
But they made me.
Try not
He's
to
like,
laugh,
they
but-
made you, and all it was they just kind of made, like, they were asking him, and he just wanted to get out. He just wanted to leave that
Yeah,
room.
that's the thing. It's like, and then people that don't even have like that kind of mental handicap still, they just want that relief of just like,
Yeah, I mean, that was
Well,
just
fine,
that
I
was an
did
extreme
it. Yeah, it's-
example
it's
because
like-
everybody can look at that and be like, wow, from start to
yeah,
finish.
but that
Yeah.
easy way out. If you have to think too hard about some of that stuff, especially big picture, it's like, people would probably go fucking crazy. They wouldn't sleep. Start thinking about what's out there. What's the point of what we're doing? What's the purpose in all this? Are the people that have these beliefs doing what they practice? Because it seems very like divisive and hateful on both ends, and
Yeah.
everyone's using. It's like when an artist goes online or does an interview and explains one of his songs, like what's it mean, like what the meaning of it is, and it's like, well, people always thought it was about this, like that song 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20. That's like about his mom when she had like cancer and he was like taking care of her, like when she was really sick.
Oh, everybody thought it was like a hookup
Everyone
song?
thought it was about something else, and he was like, "It's awesome that people think that and whatever." But like the point about that is, even after an artist will like explain what their song's about, people will still be like, "No, I don't know, man. This song's kind of like about me and my thing, and it totally means this." And he's one of the artists that's like, "Hey, whatever it means to you, awesome." But to still have something like mapped out, explained so clearly, like, oh, there is no confusion. This is exactly what I meant, and still have people be like, but I interpret it this way, so I appreciate what you're doing, but once you can run along now, I'm gonna kind of.
Especially in music, because
Yeah.
music is like. Did y'all have that phenomenon where you, like, when you were younger, you didn't listen to the lyrics at all of some songs?
Yeah.
You just knew the tune
The
and the melody,
melody,
and you
yeah.
could kind of like what I call nya the words,
Yeah.
and like make the sounds, but you don't know what the words were.
Yeah.
But then like you'll be like 13 years old and then be like, oh, that's that word was.
Yeah.
Oh, they're actually talking about this. Ooh, Macarena's a terrible song.
Yeah, just repeating themselves over and
Yeah.
fucking over.
That's funny.
No, because I mean the words the Macarena, you know, like that's all about like her boyfriend going out of town. So like she
Jesus.
like hooked up with his best friend or something like that. That's the Macarena song.
Is it? I haven't even.
What was I supposed to do? He was out of town and his two friends were so fine.
Damn,
like-
children dance to that
I was
shit.
dancing that
Yeah.
song in
I
first
know.
Yeah, I was
grade,
like,
man.
the innocent child, man.
I think that
It'd be
song
like,
was on Oprah or something like that. It was
That's
like that one or the
amazing.
train, one of those other.
We've been doomed. This plays at every fucking wedding. That's
Yeah,
not a good way to
it's the
start off a
beat.
marriage. It's
It's
fucking
the
crazy.
beat.
The whole family's in on it. It's fucking.
And it's right there in the song, but we're all like, this song slaps. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah.
Damn, I feel dirty now. That's fucked up.
So many times, like, man, I
Should we
played-
play it?
Nice, it's fucking-
We do. We got 12 viewers. People are commenting and whatnot. Will Kerberg says, "I'm out. Got to go to work, but need to buy, sell, invest in real estate. Holler at me." He says, "Thanks, man." He was just saying that he was happy that people are talking about different stuff, no matter the differences and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're that much different right now. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what our differences are. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you some opinion on some current events. You ready?
Boom.
All right. All right. You ready?
Let's go.
You ready?
Yeah.
How do you feel about slavery?
I'm like,
That's too deep.
well, I'm pretty one-sided on this issue.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm a little biased.
No, we won't go that deep. But there is something that did happen this last weekend that everybody's kind of going back crazy over. The two people outside their home in Minneapolis holding the guns.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of blew up my feed. So For anybody that doesn't know, my understanding of the situation was that.
Thank you, because I just see the picture and everyone's rage.
I literally
I just see
haven't
these
read
pictures.
it.
Let's explain it that way. So, what did you see online? Since you haven't seen the whole thing,
I've seen it more as like I guess maybe like a pro-gun person supporting it was just saying like, look at this. These people are going to use their amendments to protect their shit. Right on. And then I've seen other things, joking, pretty much just memes from then on out, just making fun of kind of the way they're standing with the guns. But I'm sure there's another side to it too that I haven't seen, the wave of just like this. If this was going on, if these people were this color, and this
is a great example how everybody's seeing it from the different position.
Okay, yeah.
I was told in this adage last time, but there was like this old Indian adage about God where they say like, okay, imagine God being an elephant, right? And then you have like 5 or 6. Blind people that are all around this elephant, and they're all touching a different part of this elephant and describing what God it was like. Oh, God feels like a tree, and then God feels like a snake, and eventually it's like with all their understanding, that's what it was, right? So any situation is like that. We're essentially not you're blind to so many things because we're only looking at through a lens. But what happened in this situation, evidently, was protesters had broken down a gated neighborhood, like broken down the gate to the gated neighborhood, walking down the sidewalk in gated neighborhood, walked into these people's yards, and this guy is a lawyer and his wife is a lawyer. They're injury lawyers, so they're those guys like call 1-800 something.
That's funny.
So and he's all
the
about
irony.
He's like 5'2". He's like a tiny little dude. It's
and
the AR looks like giant. He's like holding this AR in his hands, and his wife's holding the gun like a 1940s like gangster girlfriend.
He has like paper mache wrist. As soon as he shoots it, his bones are just gonna collapse.
So the firearms like person in me is just like screaming at this point, like, what are these idiots doing, right?
No.
But I mean, legally they can do what they did. It's an open carry state. They're on their own property. People have broken and trespassed through their property. So you're now trespassing on.
So they like breached the gate and they just want to just go through the neighborhood and just kind of.
And the people in the front yard claimed, like the people that were holding the guns claimed that somebody said like we're gonna f it up and we're gonna like start burning shit down and stuff like that. And so that's why they came out with their guns, because even if you're allowed to open carry in a state and other people are trespassing, you can brandish your weapon, but pointing that weapon at other people, and I'm not sure of in Minnesota, but in Alabama, if you point your weapon at somebody, it's menacing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not menacing if you
need like a reasonable cause.
If you're upping the use of force to protect yourself. But
I think those people were like trying too hard to scare people to the point where they probably legit didn't know how dangerous they were being, but like they wanted to get their message across. I don't even think they probably would shoot somebody if somebody walked up and like grabbed their gun, but it's just that ultimate intent. Like no one full out pose, the pose. Most people that have a gun and will shoot you will just stand there. You won't know they have a gun until shit gets too crazy. And they'll be like, can't wait to shoot a motherfucker. But if you see this gun, you won't come too close, motherfucker. So come on, I want your confidence, man.
It's easier to shoot something close up.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, if I was in a gated neighborhood and a group of people broke it down, I would already be on like maximum edge. Yep. I don't know if I'd be on my front porch.
I won't be on my front porch,
but maybe front sight visible at the ready. If somebody was about to throw a fucking Molotov or something at my house, maybe I'd open the door and be like, "It's not a fucking game."
You're gonna shoot the Molotov out of the sky.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler alert. But I mean,
that's why I pack 12 gauge.
But yeah, with that, I mean, waving it at people and whatever. It's at that point, I'd be thinking surviving too. Like, what can I do to not agitate these group of angry people that outnumber me by so much? And it's just like at that situation, it's just kind of a couple of dumb steps taken, but it's like you kind of understand, but it's taken too far. Like, hey, you want to make sure everyone knows this isn't the property you're going to come on and just fuck up it, because I understand whatever, even if I don't understand whatever, just don't come and fuck up my shit. I bust my ass the whole nine. Like,
there's some people that don't give a crap though. They're I know people in my feed that wrote, and I said this the first thing, and people can get mad at me because there's somebody probably gonna watch this thing that actually wrote this on their feed and shared the meme. Said black people have every right to burn down the country they built for free. I'm like,
no, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm like, I understand where you're coming from.
Which is
crazy.
They're coming from the situation of like, people are angry and they should have the right to express that anger, but they're justifying property damage, and it's like that's where I get weird. That's where I get weird. I get it.
My fine line is, you guys want to take down like offensive statues and stuff like that. Like, I'm all for that if it's like almost legally impossible. That's like the extremes for me that I'm down for when it comes to like the mom and pops and all that kind of stuff. And I think at some point, it might be like maybe a couple people in a crowd with the right intention, but then some people just get inspired by no consequences at some point, and then it becomes a bigger group of people doing something like,
for sure.
we're not getting in trouble for this shit, man. You know,
crowd mentality.
Yeah, it's anytime there's no consequences for shit. It's easy to be a little more fucking lawless, and people kind of let loose a little bit more. And some people aren't even out there doing what people are describing, which is venting years of frustration and yada yada. This motherfucker grew up with an iPad and did all this shit. He doesn't know shit about anything. He doesn't know shit about anything. Most people, you know, some of the younger people, you know, I'm speaking about that right now, but it's just, yeah, those very reasons like that you would think, like, if you could explain it to somebody, like fucking sit them down, watch Roots and shit, and give them that fresh feeling of like, fucking, this is why fucking people, it's like, most of the people, a lot of the people out there they're not even mad about that or something. They're just bored off fucking quarantine, and then they are like legit upset about something, but by the time that kind of chaos erupts, they're not thinking like, this is for fucking.
Well, also there's no, at first there's no direction to the movement, right? It's just a lot of anger, and that doesn't accomplish much in my eyes. But it's like, I can understand the perspective of nothing was happening, so this is what we're gonna do.
That's the part I get.
That also makes sense, but there needs to be a leader behind that that's kind of taking that energy and anger and utilizing it into something that the other side can respect.
Yeah, and that's the part where I kind of, like you say, I troll people sometimes, where I kind of play both sides, even just to like kind of correct myself, but I'll just ask a question, and it'll be something to the effect, what were we just on? I just had it.
Oh, you were talking about, so.
Just had it, damn. I was talking about trolling people and saying like when they say like, what's the point of doing all this? We need peaceful protests and yada yada. Violence has never done anything, and it's just like violence has literally shaped this planet, like beyond just violence built this country. Violence helped write the Bible. That did everything. Violence is everywhere. I tell my wife all the time, just, you want to know human nature? Put a toy in front of two 2-year-olds.
It's
and just
different
sit
levels
back.
of violence.
It's just like, everything,
it's including
the
speech, is
spectrum.
different levels of violence.
There's good ways, healthy ways to get it out, and the whole nine. But there's also like, there's been peaceful protests. People have been shot and killed peacefully protesting, and then also it's like a lot of shit's been fucking taken, and like a lot of shit hasn't been not even close to peaceful. It's like, oh, you're praying to this guy now, and this is your flag, and no more sons for you. We're gonna do this, and oh, I'm kind of God now. I'm kind of a demigod, but just chew on that for a while, get used to it. And it's like our ancestors, like that's our world. Was like, so to say like, guys, violence isn't gonna be the way. It's like this country was like literal violence. That it's like, isn't the red on the flag for like, you know what I'm saying?
I can agree that violence, has shaped the world in that sense. But I think what we're trying, what I would say the counter to that would be, is in the same vein of Hamid, if you decide that you're going to take violence up, you then give license to the other side to enact violence on you. Yeah. So you have to really kind of wage your bets there and say, hey, is this something that I'm willing to risk? Like the fact that you're anytime, and let's just say this, let's say chaos violence, right? Not retributive violence. You go into this crowd in this protest, and all of a sudden, all your people are being peaceful. But all of a sudden, somebody comes there, and it gives them license to be violent because they're in a crowd of people that everybody's going to get blamed for what they want to do. You kind of allow chaos into your circle whenever you start doing not organized protests. Like that's why protests are supposed to be extremely organized, where they account for the people that are there. Those people sign a petition. It's supposed to be like a way that it happens, so you can say these people stand for this issue, and if there's no violence even allowed, then those people are seen as like legitimate. Then when people come in and start enacting violence in the chaos, then those people, the group needs to separate themselves from that violence and say, we didn't do that. Which BLM has done.
I feel like since day one, there's been like this thing of making like somehow synonyms out of rioters and protesters, when there's like a clear distinction where it's like, those are the protesters over there. Like kind of said, they kind of seem uniform. They're all kind of wearing the same deal. They're all got a candle, something like there's like uniformity, and those people are rioters. I think some of those people are just rioting, and that's that. And some people I'm sure there's a small minority that are doing it for whatever personal, passionate reason that they have, but there's just a large amount of people that are like, there's no fucking cops around. We can.
And a lot of cities,
we
it's
can
largely
get some
been
shit.
co-opted by the Occupy movement. Like, Occupy Wall Street back in the day.
Yeah.
They said that like in Seattle, it was pretty much the Occupy movement, and it was being run by that. What's that guy in the Chaz zone? What was his name? Raz.
Chaz.
He was like a music producer online or something like that, and then he was like the president of Chaz. And he's
That's
like,
funny.
yeah, he's just like this guy that carries around a rifle and calls himself like the leader of Chaz or the president of Chaz.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be a humanitarian, like unified co-op area where nobody's. It's basically supposed to be like a Marxist dream, right? It's supposed to be like that's what it is. 4 people got killed in it, so they were like, "We got to shut this down." So I think I hadn't looked at the news recently, but I think they're supposed to be trying to take over the police precinct now.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think about all the defunding police and all that?
Oh, that's been.
What do you think about that, Cody?
That's
what do
been
you
the
think about
topic.
defunding the police?
So, you'll hear no stuttering in this part now, but this has been. I've had plenty of practice on this.
man.
My basic position is I understand the concept of defund the police. I know it doesn't mean abolish the police, but I don't think that other.
See, I didn't think that at first, and it took me
Yeah.
literally like a couple days ago to realize, like, I was like, okay, I think by defund they don't mean like take away the money, but like, wait, what do they mean by
They do
that?
mean take away the money.
'cause
They
the-
mean they're
that-
going to use other people for different things. That's what most people are saying. But Minneapolis is like, no, we're going to abolish our police department, and they just did it. They're like, it's gone.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think politicians
It's
understand
like
what it means.
the mafia's not getting enough respect around here. Let's get rid of the cops.
I have a big problem when,
hope
when
you have a
people,
gun.
when people use hyperbolic names for movements and claim that that's not what they mean. Like,
That's
I
like-
hate that.
That's what I'm saying by like kind of being misled. It's like it's one of those kind of headline kind of things. Like that kind of shit goes through like a little marketing phase of like,
Yeah.
well, what's this? What would grab more attention? This word and this.
Right.
Well, this make this letter capital. All the little shit that's
Yeah.
just like this will be in bold lettering and the
Well,
whole
it's the
nine.
idea of like aiming past what you want. So maybe if you come up short, you get some good concessions, right?
Right.
But if you shoot short, then you'll have. That's what. a
But
lot of people
nowadays, it's like any energy is energy, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, this will piss people off. It's
get
like,
them, yeah.
so that at least I'll get the viewers that way, but they'll still be viewing.
And then you have other situations where like movements are blatantly, presenting as one thing when they actually have ulterior motives. And like, like I'll use this for an example. Some people don't like that I use the example, but it's open and it's free to the public to look on YouTube and watch the founder of Black Lives Matter say that she and the other lady are trained Marxists. That she said it on a video interview, and she was like, you can tell she was stopping before she said it. She goes, "We are trained Marxist, and we're well versed in." I've watched this like 10 times. Like well versed in lots of ideological things, such as like she gets kind of like that answer like the
Miss
girl,
America.
the Miss America. She did like that, but she's like, "We're trained Marxists." She said it like her and the other founder, and I was like. Because I called it, did I not? I told you, I said, dude, I looked at Black Lives Matter website years ago when all this was going down just to see what everybody was about. Like, is this about what it says about?
Right.
On their website, under like the mission statement, it was like all Marxist everything. Like we're gonna go towards communism. Nobody's better than anybody else. Like we're gonna try to equal incomes. We're gonna try to provide reparations. We're gonna do all these different things. It was like Black Lives Matter stuff mixed in with like straight up Marxist institutions of government. And I was like, nah, I don't like that organization. But I kept getting like,
It's like it seems so like anti-political, like
right,
the
because the
movement
meaning.
would want like an effective political presence of some kind of change as a whole part of like a big solution, I guess. But it's like that seems like such a micro. Goddamn, I don't get it. It's just
Did you know that before I said that?
no.
Yeah. So
It made me. I instantly thought like I'll just use that to troll people in like the Confederate flag army. That's just the Confederate flag
Yes.
argument. When I'll just be like, oh no, well we can't think about how it started, man. It's just like this is what it means now. So lay off, and then I'll just laugh a little.
as far as the Confederate flag goes, I'm like, I'm totally fine with making that gone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. It's kind of one of those things that I remember I used to question all the time in school and shit. And I don't know, maybe just wound up just taking it on the chin or just not throwing my hands up as much anymore. It just kind of became like a warning flag, but not in like the most negative way, but like, oh, I can kind of I know what kind of conversation I'm gonna hear when I walk into this bar, or I know what kind of jokes I'm gonna get my thick skin on when I come here. It's like, want to hear a black jerk? Sure do. Come on, buddy.
I think that was one example of like I will tell you this: most Southern white people growing up as a person that grew up in South Alabama, like in a really country area, people did not think of the Confederate flag even as the Confederate flag or anything to do with slavery. They really
it was more of like a country flag.
To them, it represented rebellion against Big Brother. It represented rebellion against like the big government, and it was like, no, it was more localized and more Southern. It was like a Southern identity flag.
That's what I hear the most.
That's what it became.
It's a symbol of fighting oppression. That's what I hear.
I would say this generation, like our age and whatnot. How old are you again, Isaac?
33.
Earlier we were trying to figure it out. He was like, "How old am I?" But like,
babe, help me out.
I think a lot of people in the South, that's what they saw. At least this generation. Now, I can't speak for the prior generations because I think they knew, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people have gotten that story because I think that was the story before. I think that it absolutely did represent like resentment towards the North and maybe some people were using it in a racist manner. But I really think that if it's to the point where an entire like swath of people are like, hey, that's got to go, like. Maybe you don't make it illegal, but you make it so socially unacceptable.
I remember I was having a conversation with a buddy, and he was kind of making the point, well, Africa also had slaves at the time too, and the whole nine, and yada yada. And I'm like, okay, let's go one step further. So, America and the South and Africa both had slaves, except the South also declared war on America. So they kind of one-upped Africa in that regard. So it's like, even to say, like, these people had slaves and these people had slaves, like, let's go beyond that, like, to the Constitution of, like, just the definition of treason. And people on that side will be like, we were fighting for this, this, and that. You can't call that treason. But it's like, but if we're going by the Constitution, it's like kind of raised arms against Lady Liberty. So, like, some people may be able to haul past you, but there's no way around this text right here.
Well, it was just very different understandings of the Constitution. The South saw, from my understanding of history, the South saw the issue of slavery as an important issue for the Civil War. Some people say the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was. It was about that. It was definitely about slavery to the majority.
And wages and shit.
I would say to the majority of the states, and the majority of the top people in the Confederacy. It was about slavery. Now, to the individual that didn't own slaves, it probably was not about slavery.
Right.
But the people that mattered in terms of money and influence, it was about slavery because they were trying to maintain their institution, right? And they believed that they were constitutionally valid in doing that their government was going to become oppressive by making them get rid of this institution, very evil institution. And the North was making this moral stance, this is what we're going to do. And I'll say this, how many millions of Americans or hundreds of thousands of Americans died, to end that institution of slavery. So that's cool. That's if the one positive we can take from that is like it ended the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, but it's also like bittersweet when you consider like in what other aspect, not to like fuck it, like throw salt in the wound, like they lost, but it's like in what other aspect of society is like a loss or losing like celebrated like so hard and so consistently, and not even like annually. Like it's already annual. It's fucking every day on my way to work, motherfucker. Like you would think like,
well, it didn't just start with just the flag. Yeah, it wasn't just the flag. It was like they did, Jim Crow laws and all these other type of different laws to keep black people out of society in general. And then finally, in 1964 with the Civil Rights Act, things started to integrate correctly, like in the sense of where they should be to a degree. But then you still have businesses that were keeping people out from like real estate areas. And
but even if you just wanted to just take race completely out of it and just left it to wars or battles or a competition of some sort, like who's always like exalting the memorabilia of an epic loss, or unless it's like a fucking movie item where Rocky lost in one of his movies or something, but who's like, remember fucking Pearl Harbor? You're fucking right. Like fucking this picture fucking we got through it, buddy. Like, it's kind of weird that like I try to look around and see like in what other aspect, like entertainment, sports, anything, fighting, where is like a loss like championed so hard and so like reinforced, like, well, I think we lost, but it ain't over.
It's in the name that I originally, I never even heard it when I was young. I never heard it was called the Confederate flag when I was a little kid. Before I knew all this stuff, I just heard the rebel flag. So people looked at it as just a sign of a rebellion, like like we're rebelling against the big government, and that's what that symbol means. I had nothing when I was growing up. That's what it meant.
I thought that through most of like elementary, and middle.
In general history, let's say medieval times, when one kingdom defeated another, they would usually burn the flags, right?
Banish
Because they
them,
would
like
banish the flags
punishable by
altogether,
ban.
right?
Don't even talk about it. Their old king. Nothing.
But then there's those that still wanted to revolt, right? And they would hang on to that flag and that memory for a chance to come back. Do you think that maybe there's some potential back during the Civil War that maybe a lot of people were like not ready to accept that?
It's like every 4 years when we have a new president. It's like, give
true.
Obama a chance, give Trump a chance. Not my president, not my president. It's like there's people like this. He is though. Like you could just say you don't like him. That's fine too. But don't be so proud of nope, not mine. It's like no, you didn't vote for him. Just say that. But he is like
it's kind of a dangerous sentiment. You know, it's like are we in this together? Like that's what it really comes down to. Is like we should be in this together.
No, some people want to be a picture day, and some people are fucking getting through it and fucking I'm gonna be here. I want to be playing duty right now.
I mean, I don't always want to be like involved, but like sometimes I'm just like
but it's like
when Obama was president, I didn't vote for President Obama. I didn't vote for Trump either, but I didn't vote for Obama when he was going. Like I was voting for Bush and. But
that's like
Romney.
weird on like a low level. Like you say like there's cops in Georgia, and I'm like nope. It's like take off my clothes,
just denying reality.
Walking to 7-Eleven to see a little, just like no, I don't think so. Just like
it's just kind of like this whole like that whole Trump derangement thing. It's like you despise the man so viscerally that you just deny that he really exists in the way that he exists.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, no, he's just Orange Man. That's all he is.
And you're just living in your own little
and just
world.
still have the jokes and whatever, and just be. I don't know. Why
But I don't think they really believe that
funny?
he's not their president, because I'll say this: people that say that are also the most like freaked out every time that he does anything. Like Trump could fart in the wrong direction, and like people would literally find some reason to freak out over it. Why would you freak out about it unless you thought that he had the power to do what he said he was going to do?
It's
so because you believe he's your president, right? What they're saying is like he doesn't stand for what I believe. That's all they're saying.
It's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, fuck being right, you're wrong, and when it's time to let people know they're wrong, that's you got to grasp on to whatever. What can? Fuck, he did win, but he's not mine. Woo, that's up top. Woo. All right, I'm out of here.
What I don't like is when people are like, when things don't go their way, they start trying to change laws, like the electoral process and all that kind of stuff, just so they can get somebody elected they want to get elected. I'm like, careful, you're playing with fire. Like, every time the Democrats did this years ago with like the majority in the House, they made it to where like they didn't have to have enough as many votes to pass something, and they like rammed through Obamacare and some other different stuff. They like rammed it through, and then the Republicans got in and they started ramming stuff through. Like, why you can't do this? Because they did something like they banned the filibuster. So like the filibuster was the way that they would keep stuff going without without taking a vote on it essentially. So when they stopped doing that, the Democrats voted that so they could get what they wanted passed. Well, when somebody else got in office, it went the opposite way. So the idea is like you don't want to afford too much power to either side. Like we're supposed to be fighting about this in an even manner. Well,
also it shouldn't be about sides, man. Like, why does a Democratic candidate have to believe in all of the Democratic values when there's maybe some Republican values that they do believe in too? Like, why
they can't even probably believe it.
Yeah,
they can't even. That's what
exactly.
I can't get down with the whole process as a whole. It doesn't make any sense. I can't vote for somebody because I hate them less than I hate the other person. Like, that's not a reason to choose somebody for. I'm gonna marry this girl. I like her a little less than I don't like this girl. I'm like, that's as good a reason as any. I'll trust this person.
You only get two.
It's crazy.
Hey guys, there's two other guys in this, and there's two other people in this election, and everybody's like, no, you can't vote for those people.
Right.
But like, if you look at people's views, like, if people would just like vote libertarian this year, like I'm probably gonna vote libertarian. But like, if people would, that like the people that actually had the views of libertarian views, oh my God. Libertarians would win by a landslide. I saw like not funny. I saw a poll that made me laugh because it was like 36% libertarian. If people, based on what people believe, they could vote for Jo Jorgensen this year, and she would win the election. But because we think we're stuck in this binary.
Where do you see that information? I've literally on my feed have never seen anything about libertarian.
Yeah, I'm actually part of a libertarian group one.
But my point is, it's not something I would like to. But it's like you have to go and find it. It's not like what you see. Well, it's not what you know. It's
I've seen a post before where people say you have to go to your settings and literally adjust it because you get one-sided news on your feed, like especially from the random people that aren't exactly your friends or something. if you're more on a Jon Stewart kind of time and more liberal kind of stuff, like that's the kind of stuff they kind of flood on your feed in favor. And if you're on the other side, that's the kind of stuff they just keep pumping you what you like, so that you keep scrolling and doing the whole nine. Is super fucking
and just
weird.
Reconfirms your biases.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Mine's
what you
always
need.
just really
That's what
extreme.
social media is. It's you find people that connect and make you feel comfortable about what you believe in. You wait on those likes, and it's like fucking phew, okay. Fucking, these many people don't think I'm fucking crazy. Cool, fucking.
Dude, you can see that big time though in Reddit. Like people don't take
Reddit. I won't even dare.
People
I
don't
go as
take-
deep as like a YouTube comment section.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
as deep
yeah.
as I go, bro.
I've done Reddit a little bit here and there.
Fucking
I
with
don't
Reddit.
comment. I lurk. I do what they call lurk. You know, you just
Yeah.
like you basically just read all the Reddit stuff. You don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
But dude, Reddit has like a whole culture in the sense that like if you post this, then somebody else will post like this. Like they'll answer questions in a certain way, and they do all these like pun jokes and stuff, and it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's like their whole culture. But they also get these really weird pockets of belief. Because once you like subscribe to a Reddit feed, it's like that keyword gets triggered for everything and whatnot, and the same people get attracted there. And because there's such a small microcosm and no one's really bothering them or questioning their beliefs, they all just hang out there, and your views get sharpened to a point of like only in one direction, and it's crazy. It's like politics has kind of become like fetishism, like where it's just like people will just have like the weirdest political view on something, and it's like. The amount of hours they have had to spend watching like conspiracy YouTube videos or like taking in information that's only believing what they're believing to get to that point is like how
It's
Well,
like
it's like the
listening
flat
to Charles
worlders.
Manson talk or something and be like, yeah, I can see how you probably convinced a couple people to fucking get a little crazy.
Right,
It
right.
seemed like
this right
under the right
here.
circumstances, you're fucked up, he's fucked up, the music's going, he's got the whole nine, he knows the body language, the everything. Think about it, man. It's fucking,
Right.
fuck, I am thinking about it. It's
Right.
fucking-
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it.
You haven't seen
No,
it?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen
it's
it
such
yet.
a good view on like what if it's a
I
what
gotta
if
check
movie.
it out. I didn't want to get like too squeamish, Me Too-ish anything, but there's some weird shit I saw in my recommendations. It kind of had me backing off of like Tarantino shit, and I was just like, I don't know why I haven't been in a rush to see this, but this is fucking awkward, man.
What was the deal with the Tarantino thing? What?
Him and Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson, a bunch of people gave like Roman Polanski like a standing ovation when he won an
Yeah.
award, and he wasn't even allowed to be in the country for what he did to accept the award, and they're still
That's right.
just like fucking standing, yada yada. And then they all each do like individual interviews, like like damn right I was standing, like yada yada,
Mm-hmm.
It's not rape, it's sexual assault, like like making it like it's not rape, it's like something else. I'm like, no, it's rape, man. You don't drug a teenager when you're this old and do this and that, and you
Wasn't
got
it like a
extradited.
13 or 14-year-old girl or something with Quaaludes or something like that?
Yeah, they drugged her up, and they just had kind of, I guess, your standard, Hollywood party, whatever. And even the parents, I think, let her hang out there, which was, fucked up on their part too. Which is another thing that the celebrities do. They
This is
blame
the
the
70s
parents.
too,
Like,
so-
when I was 15, I knew. It's like, well, guess what? This 15-year-old's living her dream and thinks she's making good impressions on all these people that can shape the rest of her fucking life, and she's not even responsible enough to vote or drive. You're gonna let her take drugs and hang out with fucking adults? But yeah, he did some shit, admitted to it, got the fuck out of the country, hasn't been back allowed in, but people have been like, let him back, let him, the art. And it's just like,
Do you feel
sometimes I don't care how talented you are, man. I can't
do
get
you
behind
feel
it.
like you can still appreciate his art even though you obviously
I can respect that he's real fucking good at it, but
Yeah.
I don't want to like support it.
You're not going to give him a standing
Yeah.
No,
ovation.
like
Right,
like the
right,
guy the guy that did The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
He did like Leon the Professional.
Mhm.
Like that was based off of him. When I
Yeah.
found that out, I was like literally this sucks. Those are two of like some of my favorite films, maybe top 10. Like The Fifth Element. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And he was saying like that was like based off of him. He had like a 12-year-old girl that he was in a relationship with when he was
I haven't actually
old,
seen
and
the
she
movie.
like that girl grew up. What character did she play? She played in one of the movies, like a side character, maybe a prostitute or something, like kind of. But that was her like grown up, and he met her when she was like on some Woody Allen shit, like you know what I mean? Like it's like, god damn, knowing that, it's like I can know hands down, Fifth Element will always be dope, and I think I can like still watch it and be like cool. But it's like if you make anything else, it's like I don't want to support it. Like it's fuck, that's too much for
when
me.
I was in middle school, I pulled a random quote off the internet in one of my papers, and I was like, something, Woody Allen. And my teacher, and I didn't get it until like a couple years ago, right? And probably when I heard about Woody Allen, right? But I was like, yeah, I love Woody Allen. And I was in middle school, right? So I was pulling random quotes, and I liked the quote. I don't remember what it was, but I liked the quote. But it was like Woody Allen. It's like, oh, you like Woody Allen? I was like, yeah, a lot.
Oh man.
But I'm in like middle school, so I had no clue. But now looking at it now, because I remember the face that teacher gave me. He was like, "Oh, you like Woody Allen, huh?" Like, "Oh,
he's my hero."
Yeah, how about that? And I'm like, "Yes, he's the best person in the entire
world." He never
world.
said anything about it. Your teacher didn't say anything about it?
No, I was in middle school. So
B minus.
how would you explain that to a middle schooler, right?
Fuck that.
Oh my god! But yeah, no, there's what's something else that's been going on online? What we got? We got some people that have been a little too over the top here.
I've seen a lot of flag stuff, a lot of obvious the police stuff. I've seen a lot of like the answer to the police issue is social workers, and I've seen the case, which is like in some cases they make like some where it's like, you know, we handle people overdosing and, you know, high on this and that, and we restrain them without, like, fair enough. No way you're coming to a couple neighborhoods I can name and kicking down any fucking doors and doing shit without lethal or not even without lethal force, just without like necessary type of force. You know what I mean? It's like, get the fuck out of here.
People need to stop thinking that we need to give everything to a person without the gun, because like, listen, here's the thing. You need to train your police officers better, plain and simple.
Boom.
I went to a 12-week academy when I was a police officer. It's not enough. Not enough physical training, not enough gun training, especially not enough psychological training. And you need to have a higher quality of person that's, you know, capable of completing a 4-year degree. I think you should have a 4-year police degree. I think that you should be a police. Maybe we can have reserves or people that don't have that police degree or whatnot, or they come in to do their time in between their semesters or whatnot.
I've always said like if it was harder to become, then you can like some kind of way to fucking raise the pay so that like maintaining a level of excellence too is something that you aspire
I coined it.
to.
It's called the Chick-fil-A effect.
Boom. Okay.
When you pay your employees better, you get better quality employees.
I mean, fuck. Shit. I mean, it's crazy. And when you see an officer, a cop, you shouldn't think. Like, I've seen a million times like, yo, without a gun, and you better be a good shot. If I take off jogging right now, I'm gone. I'm free. I will slap you in the face and just jog off, maybe backwards, and just weave out. You'll trip over your legs. You're not that coordinated, doesn't seem. And like, whatever. You should look at a guy and be like, let me not just run from this motherfucker. Let me hear him out. Like, you shouldn't be scared, but you shouldn't also be like, you fucking chump. Like, not even like I can kick this guy's ass, but like if I want to flee this place, like there's no way this guy's making it 2 miles with me. No way.
I feel like the officers that have a certain demeanor about them in terms of their physicality, their mentality, and then the way they look, people try them less, right? Yeah. Like, so when I was policing, like I said, I had one complaint in the entire 5 years that I was in the police department, but I just found when it came to use of force and when it came to giving out directions and what I was going to do, and the fact that I was just very even keel all the time, like it was hard to get me worked up, that people just didn't try me like that. People weren't willing to just take off from me when I'm trying to enact an arrest. Now, it happened a few times, but I knew officers that it happened to all the time. And it's not that they're bad people. It's just a different type of person when it comes to that. If you have to have a certain energy about you of authority, right? But also fairness. So it doesn't help right now when the media is constantly berating everyone with the image of like literally like Don Lemon getting on CNN and saying black people are being hunted in the streets by cops. And I'm like, hunted in the streets? I mean, like every black person, not just this community where there's some racist officers that exist and whatnot. Everybody, black people in general, they're a monolith. And what happens to the person in the ghetto inside of Chicago happens to the person's living in upscale Atlanta. No, that's not true. I just don't like thinking of any group of people as like now everybody has the same standard, because like your level. I could be speaking past myself here, but your level of oppression is different than the level of oppression of someone that grew up in the projects. Yeah, right.
I mean, and even my shit, I've been in and out of everything. I know a little bit of everything. I think it's probably what's helped with my perspective a little bit. And I've seen like the bottom, the bottom. And I've also seen like, damn, if you fucking work hard. I see my dad achieve the American dream, an immigrant, fucking from nothing to something, Chappelle dancing and shit. Like, I totally see it's possible. And it's definitely shaped my opinion on everything. So anytime it's like seeing people complain, and it's like when you were saying, people wouldn't be hostile with you because of your demeanor. And like the biggest misconception is that most people have big egos, and so they'll wild out or act crazy because they have big egos, when in reality they have small egos. And as soon as they feel threatened or betaed out or something, posture, you step forward, I step back, fuck, I step back, fuck, it's over. Like, like it's that fear. Little micro stuff, the microaggressions. It's like, yeah, they feel challenged, and then what can they do? All they can have at this point is just like, it's tantrum time, or it's like, it's time to wild out. Oh, fuck, I'll challenge you back. You fucking challenge me, I'll challenge you.
Or sometimes just fear, like, because the instant that you convince yourself that your life is in immediate danger, then you start giving yourself license to do, violent or deadly things. So as a police officer, if I get worked up really easily, and I think that, oh, this guy's gonna kill me, just off like the way he's acting or just whatever. Like if I get too worked up too quickly, then I start giving myself an excuse to act more extreme, and then it gives him more excuse to act more extreme.
So you basically need thicker skin,
very thick skin,
while policing, but also have a authoritative presence that's also fair.
I mean, it goes beyond that. If you leave your house like the person that your parents intended you, be a good person, treat everybody with respect, be kind, don't hurt anybody. If people just were from their house to the outside left, it wouldn't. Because the conversation goes to like even the people that don't believe it. Hey, there's just bad people. There's bad doctors. The right prescriptions to people so they can sell drugs. There's bad pharmacists. There's bad fucking Staples employees. There's bad people that make rollerblades. Someone fucked up a pair of Jordans in the assembly line. There's just bad employees. There's bad cops. There's bad hosts. There's fucking bad people, and there's good people out there.
Bad what?
Yeah, it's hosts. Hosts.
There's bad hoes.
I wish to remain married by the end of this podcast. Just bad hoes. They're not what they used to be. You gotta bring your own money. It's all debit.
Yeah, man.
They always want Venmo.
It just kills me whenever you see people throughout all of society painting cops with one brush and whatnot. But what you do see with hold on, I lost my train of thought here. I'm getting sidetracked. I keep trying to see what somebody wants us to write. Well, let's just look at it here. It says Whitney Clark Gregor says, "Can any of you guys talk about vulnerability and how this affects us reaching out to someone so different from us and asking real and often difficult questions to try and truly understand each other's life?" I think
vulnerability is like a huge issue, even as far as I always tell people, even in jest, that sometimes I'll point at someone and be like, "You're the reason people are scared to learn in class." It's just like, I was always told the dumbest question is the one you don't ask. And nobody wants to be vulnerable to say like, you just explained that kind of, but like, I'm not up to speed, something. I've been in that situation where I'm not about to look stupid in front of everybody. Because, what you said it, what, good? Like, you don't want to look vulnerable. You don't want to look bad. You don't want to, people have such a problem not looking like at their best. And it's like social media, it's like this Venn diagram of it doesn't fucking help that at all. And it also, like, you can connect with people to fucking figure something out like that. But usually by the time you post something, how many times have you deleted it and rewritten it? Let me say it like this. Let me be the best version of myself right now, instead of just being like, click, boom.
Right.
And then you see the comments, you spelled this wrong, yada, yada. Did you mean this? Yada, yada, yeah. Cool. That's the vibe, yada, yada. Instead of being like, fucking 407 years. My father. It's like, oh, fuck, I don't know how I'm going to phrase this to sound, noble, or how I'm going to sound.
I was saying that like a lot of people don't want to be truly vulnerable and talk about these topics. That's why they typically do it on Facebook or whatnot, where they're just talking about it in a text, because they can ignore anybody.
Or they can be a little vague.
They can be
vague. You don't have to
explain
explain anything.
Or they can ignore, or other people can even look too far into what they said and what they didn't say. Like, and that's when then gets people really upset. So I think we end up arguing about stuff that we disagree about instead of agreeing on the stuff, or instead of talking about the stuff that we do agree on. Because to me, like I always say that I don't want to. I care what people are against. I do, but like, I really want to know what they're for. Yeah. Like what are you for? Because if we can be for some of the same things, then the other stuff can work itself out.
The translation, there's just a misdirection, or sometimes there doesn't even have to be a cooperation at a certain point. If, like you said, like if what your goal is the same, it's like, okay, you can go to a holistic masseuse and go over there and get treatment and be fine, and I can go to like the all science Ivan Drago facility and get help for the same treatment. We can meet in a week and both have the same relief. It's like those differing beliefs both had the same result.
Yeah.
And they both went about it in a way that it's like, what, this is the tech affecting your tax dollars or anything, or it's fucking you up? Anyone getting hurt over here from, science juices flying over here or something? No, everyone's good. Like, oh shit, look, we both feel better and we did it in the way that we believe. And it's like, what a fucking crazy idea. I can't believe it.
There's also the things that are a little deeper than that. Like that I could totally agree with, but then you have things like if you're talking about global warming or using electric cars versus gas powered cars and things like that, it's like it's a little bit more of a gray area, and there needs to be compromise because like gas is integrated into everything in our lives right now.
My mindset with that has gotten real sad because it's just to the point where it's just like, who profits off of it now? Like that's hard to believe that anybody in that high of a position anymore is just like that good all the way through and doesn't have the responsible for so many people's pockets and their own, and then the reputation at that point, because it seems to be once you reach this like echelon of success, like the money isn't enough and it's about your fucking name. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's crazy.
A lot of people in that level don't want to take the time to explore the potential of improving things too. A lot of those people, it seems like they're making a bunch of money and just trying to do things for their own initiative, whatever that could be, which I
feel like a lot of those like material export companies are really just people that are just dealing with numbers. Like they're like, okay, I need these numbers to match up here. What do I got to do to get manufacturing up to demand and all this kind of stuff? And that's all they really care about. I think that's been my
It's
experience.
like people going out of their way to like promote that they recycle or something like that. Like just recycle.
Yeah.
Like you put that out there just to appeal more to people. You know what I mean? Which is like, it's not the worst thing in the world telling people you recycle, but it's like a little pandering. It goes beyond like just having a recycle. Oh, here's where the sign is. Just like we recycle. It's
in
like,
a world with millions of companies, they're trying to look for that edge, and everybody wants to have that virtue signal to the world around them. Like we're good. We're also good people. Buy from us. Like why?
Well, the thing is, the problem is with where our society is right now. If you don't do that, you will go out of business.
I try to force myself, I guess, to run into that wall where, even though I have that kind of soft belief with, I don't think it's hard to take anybody genuine at that level, because I always get frustrated with people when they say like shut up and act or shut up and play sports, and it's just like, yo, like you shut up and police, you shut up and do accounting, like you're not allowed to talk about football anymore because you're not a pro football player.
I don't think you
have
to shut up about anything ever.
It's one thing to be like, I think we were talking about this before, like be snooty with somebody that's like well researched and you like literally just like you are from Google to Facebook, like copy paste maybe and then put it in your own words, like, and then try to treat somebody else like they're dumb. It's like,
right
to that level, it's like,
you're not like, actually an expert.
It's always going to be a great comment when the person like puts a haha on your comment and they see him typing. You're like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah,
this person doesn't respect anything I just said.
Haha.
They think what I said is hilarious.
Yeah, that's the good stuff, man. It's
she was telling us to watch there's a Brené Brown special on Netflix on vulnerability, evidently. So everybody go ahead and watch that at some point. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I will say I might check it out, but I'm a pretty vulnerable guy. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, man.
Yeah, just kind of like saying what
I
you
always
believe.
let it out. That's why I wanted to come on here, because I'm like, people probably think that what I'm typing is fucking motherfucker. Like a half macho man, have something
That's the whole
else
goal,
entirely.
man. It's like to remind people that like there are real people behind every one of those comments. Like stop treating people like trash when you're talking to them.
When I see people are too much on one side, and they'll be like, today the Dems, yada yada, and I'll just comment the other humans. Like, is that who you're talking about? Yeah. You keep saying the liberals, the Dems. You even just saying a group of people
that separate
or something.
Species of thing.
Like that little.
Sorry, I was just gonna say what I know. What I think's strange too. It's like not even strange. I understand it, but a lot of times it seems as though people don't want to put the effort into the conversation because they've got a lot of other stuff going on.
They might be wrong about something,
and
man.
They might be wrong. So there's layers there, right? So it's like, first of all, there's the vulnerability aspect. There's the ego aspect. There's the time consumption aspect, right? And it's also, having that. I guess the vulnerability goes under the actually having a real conversation with somebody. But I just feel as though, rather than just posting, if more people could just take time to talk to somebody with an opposing opinion or an agreeable opinion and discuss what they believe and understand. Like, I have a huge problem with this, I feel like my intuition's really high sometimes, but I don't take the time to always understand why I think something. It's hard. It takes time. You have to actually sit aside.
Thinking is really difficult.
And put in effort, like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to understand. Like, we were working on this setup for this podcast. We screwed it up and we spent like 2 hours trying to figure it out, but we had to. And it would have been way easier to do it on a different day, and figure it out then. But it's like, it takes a level of patience to have a real conversation with somebody, and obviously being open to others' opinions and thoughts. But
I feel like what people do is like I said, these situations and topics are so complex that they kind of throw their hands up and either throw their hands up and become nihilistic, like I don't care about any of it, or most people do is they pick a side.
Yeah.
Like most people say, okay, well, I like these people better. Like, or I'm surrounded by these people more often, and these are the people I got to answer to. These are the people I do business deals with. These are the people that I do whatever with. These are the people I go to church with, or my friends. I'm just going to agree with them because I think they're good people and I trust them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go straight to trust. It's like, who do they trust, right? And just like, black folks are going to be like, typically most one of the times, vote like other black folks until they start thinking independently, and then other people start lambasting them from the side, like, hey, why are you thinking this? Like, you can't think that way. You're like, what do you mean I can't think that way? It's like, you have to be on the team.
Right.
And it's like that's the part that kills me too. Like, same thing with, white.
It's like your heart's in the right place. You want to support what you think is like, right, man, someone looks like me, fuck yeah, boom, boom. But it's just like, yeah, but why though? Like,
growing up in
what else other than
growing
complexion?
up a white
that's
Southerner,
got to be part of it too.
I grew up a white Southerner, so like it was like, if you weren't a Republican where I came from, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And so it's like I had to, like, whenever I started getting to be more on the classical liberal side, I found myself being kind of like, a couple people kind of distanced themselves from me, and a couple people didn't want to really talk to me anymore. And some people talked to me more. So it was like, I found a good group of people that I could start talking about every single subject with, and not have to really like, mute yourself all the time just because you feel like you might be offending somebody. It's like, that sucks too. The offensive culture sucks. It's like, I'm a person. I'm gonna say some stupid stuff, but I need to own that. And
try to preach that to people all the time. Jesus, just make mistakes.
One comment from Lindsay says, we have to come to an understanding that we are all here with a common goal to uplift humanity and raise the vibration of Earth. I think that's interesting that she's trying to say that. And I think what makes sense to me there, because I was actually going to touch base on this too, even if we have differences in opinions, and I like what Cody was saying earlier, like, what do you believe in? What do you want? Like, what is it that our goals are? Isn't there? I feel like if I'm a friend, if someone's my friend, and we haven't talked about politics before, and we just get along, and I understand who that person is, but we have a completely different opinion on what's happening. To me, that's just a misalignment of information. I just feel like what he's been getting or she's been getting is different than what I've been getting, because I know he's a good person or she's a good person, and I know we get along. There's definitely a disconnect with what we're receiving, and we need to have those conversations, because if we don't, we'll have a disconnect with our relationship, and that's even worse. And that's the divide that's happening in our country.
That was the first person that I really had the opportunity to do that with, like have deep conversations, was Justice. Like, usually behind the camera. What's up, Justice, if you're watching?
We miss you today.
Yeah, he's doing an audition today, but
it's just
he was a person that I developed a close friendship with, and then I realized that, like, we started talking. We didn't have the same opinions about anything, but we valued each other as people. And like, we were friends, and then so when we would have these long drawn out like discussions about different things, and he always came from the extreme liberal side because he was living out in L.A., and I always came from the the more centrist conservative side, right? And then I saw as we talked, our opinions started to mold, and started to change, because you trust that person and you value their opinion. You're like, this person's not a bad person; they want the best for whatnot, but like, so you trust what they say, and you don't like take everything they say with like a doubt. Because whenever somebody that you don't know tells you some fact or some information or gives you a view, you go, I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I trust
You're
that
the
source.
same guy that did that naked handstand chugging a bottle of tequila last summer. You also bet against Rocky.
Well, and I think we all do want the same thing, right? We want to thrive, right? Essentially, that's what we want. We want the world to thrive. We want everyone to have the opportunity to thrive.
I think that's where like the big problem comes in when it comes at like that almost supernatural level where it's just like, do we all want the same thing?
Well, that's
because if we did, it doesn't seem like there would be like so much
I
problems
think
doing
there
any of
are.
this shit.
I think the majority of the world. This is just my
Right,
opinion, but I think the
right.
majority of the world, or the majority of the United States, wants to thrive and live a meaningful life full of life and liberty, right? But I do think that there's a facet of our population right now that is bitter and resentful and angry.
Fuck yeah.
And
There seems to be a point with each generation where it's just like, oh, fuck you guys, you don't know shit. If you're too old, you're
Yeah,
too young,
like-
where like the wisdom isn't just
well,
like.
and this is like what a lot of political commentators would always say. They would say that like you have to understand that if you dispossess a certain percent of your population, then it becomes a rebellion, right?
Right.
Because it gets like once a certain part of your population feels like, hey, I've lost this game, I'm done. Like I can't. There's not with this current system. There's nothing I can do, right? There's nothing I can make out of my life that I want. If it may or may not be true, right? And in this situation, I would say it's not true. Like I would say that like certain things that Black Lives Matter is saying and whatnot about like how they're going to change the world, and certain things that anarchist groups are saying, I don't think everything they're saying is true. I think they're based in truth, but I don't think it's an unwinnable game that they're incapable of participating in. I think there are some changes that need to be made, but a lot of people think that now that I've lost the game, that I can't participate in this game, I want to burn the whole thing down. Right, and I think that's where what we're getting is that's your school shooters, that's your people that are going out and burning buildings, that's your people that are doing things that are just like destruction and chaos because like just burn the whole thing down. Like Bane, want to watch it all burn.
Right.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well said. I would agree.
It's
with that.
it's just like at that base level. It's like a person is so intelligent and reasonable and cunning and like authentic and genuine, but people are fucking stupid. It's like as soon as you get a couple together, it's like
People are
you have
emotional, man.
5 separate reasonable conversations, yada yada. Don't let any of them know you were talking. Get them all in the same room. You'd be like, yo, you weren't just saying that like 5 minutes. It's a little bit of ego, fear, like vulnerability.
Yeah.
Just like
And-
you're just
and-
putting yourself out there.
And
It's
group,
like we
and group
can't
pressure
even.
too. Group
It's,
pressure.
yeah, it's that mob mentality, that herd mindset, where it's just like I can't believe. I know if I talk to somebody, what are you doing right now, man? Oh fuck! You caught somebody breaking a window, dude. What are you doing, bro? Fuck! My friends are gone, and nothing I say is gonna be funny. It's just you and me. And I kind of feel like an asshole right now. I'm sorry, man. Like
I thought it was going to be cool.
right? Like looking back, I kind of feel
Yeah.
dumb a little bit, but it's just it's so crazy how intelligent and like I said, all the resources, everything good that a person can be, that can be reduced to when you're just a couple people say something else and you're just like, seems comforting, like
And also, we also forget that the majority of the people that are in this movement that are committing, violence or are doing the really destructive stuff are younger people, right? There are
Yeah.
people like, 18, 19, 20, early 20s, that kind of stuff. And those are the people that that age group specifically is much more prone to risk. The prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed to a degree. They're much more heavy risk takers and whatnot. So it's like, we're looking at it in our 30s going like, oh, well, why is everybody like, you kind of get a little disconnect where you go, well, I can see how they do that, but why? But like when you're in that state, like I don't know about you guys, but when I was 18 and 19 years old and I was doing like parkour, like we would get silly. Like we would have some silly times where
I
you're
still
just
have some moments where
like lighting
flashbacks.
fireworks in our hand and
Oh,
things
man,
like that.
yeah.
Letting it explode on our
Yeah.
hand, all that kind of crazy stuff because you're just having a good time with your
Yeah.
friends and you
Yeah.
feel like you're doing something meaningful.
Making flamethrowers, jumping from building to building.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now extrapolate
Fuck
that
yeah.
onto a political rebellion, and then
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this is how this crazy stuff happens. So it's like not the majority of our but that story has led the news line.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I was thinking one day. I think might have been in jest, but it was kind of like half serious. The more I thought about it, it's like one of those goofy songs you listen to, and then after a while, it's just like it's kind of deep, man. Like the melody makes it seem goofy. If you listen to it, man, I was like, should it be harder to vote?
What do you
I
mean?
always thought like, how about if you wanted to vote like within a certain year wind span, you'd have to have spent like a couple days out of the country. maybe in like a third world country, not even a third world, just some place that's just not America, and then come back and then still call people Nazis and fascists and all that shit. Go to a place where like the claims you make is just kind of like, you know, you come back and you're calling people Hitler based off of like maybe they didn't like some girl's Olympic routine and be like, whoa, man, like think about what the fuck that is before you just like call him an asshole or something. Let's reserve like the harsh shit for like the real harshness. Like you guys are so quick to call somebody like that extreme so
hyperbolic
fast.
language,
like, and you don't know what that is. Like you step over homeless people every day, and you're talking about how hard you have it, and it's like I always think about that shit every day on the way to work, especially in New Orleans and California. Just be at a red light, I'm up early, cranky, and I'd be like, that motherfucker is praying he can stay asleep as long as he doesn't have to wake up and face his reality. I'm grateful for my situation. I'd rather be tired and in pain right now than what the fuck he's going through. So it's like I wonder if, especially young kids, they're so fucking emotional, which is dope, and it's like they're cool, they're in touch with their feelings, but at some point the feelings and the facts get like wavy, and it becomes like it's about the humanity, fuck, you know, all the data and stats, and it's like
it's this ancient idea of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? Like when you start to develop your moral structure and you start to develop what's right and wrong, and like you're finally deciding what's right and wrong in the world, essentially. But when that's led by like an emotional appeal to just like what you want to do, like you start making what you want to do be like, this is okay. What I want to do is okay. And you're like, but is that okay for everyone to do it? No, because this A, B, and C, these things that I believe in, makes like, it okay. Oh, it's okay to you. But you forget you have to recruit everyone else around you. You have to make everyone else believe you, and you can't just beat them into submission with your boot or with a sword back in the day and say this is what you're going to believe, because not enough people believe what you believe.
Yeah, the mob rule was serious back then. Back then, they had like they kind of instilled the fear over people, but there was that looming threat of this castle could get stormed every day, like any day, and that's fucking. I don't know if the White House people. I don't think they have even close to that level of fear. Press a button, call a phone.
Yeah, it would never happen like that.
Wipe that section out, like whatever.
Didn't they get onto the yard at one point and people got bit by dogs or something like that?
I think they got lit up with like those rubber bullets and shit and sound weapons and shit. Like fuck, talk about some Braveheart shit.
That's a tough thing. What do you think about them using rubber bullets and tear gas and whatnot during riots?
From what I just figured out about tear gas, I don't know about the tear gas. That seems a bit much. Maybe if there's something else they could use, but I mean, I'd probably go like beanbag bullets over rubber bullets. Except rubber bullets could be like so easily, it could go wrong. Maybe.
I mean, they're supposed to be skipped off the ground, but they have not been.
Right. That's the thing too. Like and even for a gun like that, to like how many environments will that be useful in? Say I'm taking you through this right here, and I'm running up here, and what do you skip the grass or like, and what's that gonna do to the trajectory or whatever? It's like you better not run into that Walgreens, motherfucker. That's where I'm at my best. Like this tile floor. But I don't know. So. And with beanbag guns, I know you just fucking right in the breadbasket, bang! Steal somebody's air, you steal their fucking soul right there. And
I've seen some people hit the beanbag rounds. It sucks for them. It's terrible. But here's the thing. I almost feel like, and this is going to get a little meta, but I almost feel like when we start discussing, and I brought this question up for a reason, when we start discussing what's acceptable to do for riot control, we've already lost the battle, right? Because like, what do you mean you have to control this riot? Why is there a riot, right? Like, I mean, I just think that but also in the same point, it's like I think the system of government and policing worked for the past 25 years, but I think once media got a hold of it, like once media started putting a spotlight on every single individually wrong thing, we are now demanding change. And I think change is possible, but I don't think that just by the media constantly spotlighting it is if it's actually helping the problem anymore. I think we need to know the problem's there, but we need to really start talking about what we're going to do about the problem and not just the extent, like the extremes of it.
Right.
Like, you know, like I was saying, four-year college for police, right? 4-year college for police, pay them more. Plain and simple. I would say one of my solutions would be some type of universal basic income needs to start being tested in certain states.
Maybe like a quarterly physical. Is there like some type of physical exam that's like how annual is it?
Oh, you talking about the universal basic income?
Oh no, I'm just mean for being a police
Oh, being a
officer,
police
like just a
officer.
physical
Yeah.
exam, like
No, you
how strenuous it is. Figure like in the academy it's tough,
Yeah,
but
so
then
what I-
after that, like
the process that when I had to go get hired at both the police departments that I worked at was a physical examination, which is like a physical,
Right.
a mental examination. At Auburn, they did a psych exam on everybody, so they wanted to see if you had any predispositions towards certain stuff and if your personality was pretty straightforward, right? And if you're well cut out to be a police officer. They probably didn't want a super touchy-feely person in there. They wanted somebody that's a little more resolved. But you do that, and then you do a physical fitness test, which is where you actually do like push-ups, pull-ups, obstacle course, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
There's no shooting involved. You do a written test, which is just basic understanding of certain things, and to make sure that you understand the most basic of principles in terms of reason and rationale, and that you're not too stupid to be a police officer, right? It's not difficult.
Right.
But they go based on who made the highest results in the test. But the problem is when you don't pay people enough money, you don't get enough applicants. Like you don't get enough people that are going to be quality that want to make
it's not the cream of
$36,000.
the crop, yeah.
Dude, $36,000 a year is what a police officer in Alabama makes. About 45 is what they're making in Georgia, if I'm right, which is still nothing. You can't really raise a family and be middle class on that. You're going to be upper lower class at that amount of money. And on top of that, you're terrible hours. You terrible family life. You never see kids. You're constantly being. Another thing is people say they want to get rid of qualified immunity. You know what that is?
Vaguely.
Isn't it where you, if you are a cop and you do something maybe outside the law a little bit, you're immune to the repercussions of the law?
Yeah, you're not held to the same standard of the law as other people. So when it sounds really good to say that police officers should be held to the same exact standard legally that a civilian was, but imagine this situation. They don't get to choose what calls they go to. They don't get
to say there is the aspect of them forcefully being put in those situations,
Right.
and not some people are premeditated and the whole nine.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's avoidable
So yeah, the difficult part
situations.
is like that's made to protect the innocent cops that are just they were getting sued like left and right for every single individual thing, and they were getting charged with stuff, and they eventually did qualified immunity where you
Right.
can't get sued for that kind of stuff the same way, right? Unless you broke. Now, if you break standard operating procedure, then yeah, you can be held civilly liable. So that was the whole point of qualified immunity, was to protect officers from that. However, bad ones really, really abuse it. So the compromise is not going to be as simple as just getting rid of it or just keeping it. It's going to be some type of legislation that holds police to a higher standard, but also gives them a little bit more immunity to civil, and they're basically going to have to throw that law out and institute something else. You tired of me?
A little bit,
Yawning?
yeah. I woke up early.
You're like borderline cry looking at me because you're yawning and trying not to yawn, and your eyes are glassing over. And I'm like, did I say something?
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
if we can
funny.
get rid of that law essentially with the idea of replacing it, like repeal and replace, with something that's a little more fair.
That's kind of just piggybacking off of like I said, if you just keep stripping shit down, it's like if we're fucking cool long enough and you fuck up and I'm fucking man, you dumbass, I ain't fucking bailing you out again, man. Come on. Friends will help friends out, and even at that level, it's not even cop anymore. So that's my son's godfather right there, kind of deal. It's like we gotta look out for each other. But if everyone was practicing the way they're raising their kids, always stick up for what's right. You don't put up with no bullshit around you. Don't let people get this and that, and then you don't correct when a cop is like overstepping or not being like, I see him trolled all the time and being you're a public servant, but like at the base level, it's like, yeah, you're a public. There's no reason to order anybody around that's not doing anything wrong, or that hey, keep it moving, yada yada. Like, why would you say that to somebody that's not like directly bothering somebody? It's kind of just small flex, just say, hey, keep it moving, See kids later, it's just like, oh, that's a little flex, you fucker. Like, it doesn't process. Sometimes they do it in a kind way, but still, it's also like kind of the same impression. It's just like if people were practicing what they preach, just fucking be nice, to respond to crimes. You can't prevent them. It's like that's Minority Report shit. It's like you can't just prevent them from respond to the issues. And
one of my Canadian friends said that like up in Canada, they just feel like the cops are just nicer. Like they're still doing the same stuff, right? There's still stuff happening.
Right. Like I hear they're like strict. Like
they're strict.
They'll get you on jaywalking, but like there's no like brutality and like you know, this guy died reaching for this or anything.
That's the thing that kills me. Is so many officers are so quick to like, sir, put your hands behind your back. And when they don't put their hands behind their back, they take out their spray. Put your hands behind your back.
Yeah.
They don't do it. Spray them. Put your hands behind your back. They don't do it. Boom, body slam.
It's hard to respond.
Legally, it's okay, but it's like, God dang. It's like, at some point, like you have to expect the officer to try to de-escalate.
Right.
He has to try.
It's super situational. Like, yes, if it was a hostile environment, yeah, go for it. If they don't put their hand behind their back immediately, you know. But if you're at like, I don't know, if a block where there's a few restaurants and everyone's just walking and having a good time, you shouldn't do that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just situational.
Well, it's also like, you know, you shouldn't, Jessica Crisp, I've seen a beanbag embed into a neck. It's like, yeah. Whew. Yeah, it's difficult stuff. I just think less than lethal is never guaranteed less than lethal.
I mean, I've always been approached more often than not in my experience with like fear and like lethal shit, like guns pointed.
You have?
Oh fuck yeah!
Tell me. Let's go to story time. Tell me a situation that happened where you had like a bad situation with cops.
One time I was in Altamont Springs, Florida, and me and my buddies were hanging out. Man, we had just left the mall or somewhere close to the mall, but we were like around that neck of the woods, and our jam was playing, and we were singing. And there's a part of the song that's like "Acércate, la vida que," and we were singing along. We see lights. Woo woo! All right, okay, whatever. We pull over. It's like a undercover F-150 kind of deal. 4 people get out, guns drawn, come up to the car, pull us all out, do the whole deal. Everybody get down. 2 more cars come.
They put you on the ground?
Oh, fuck yeah. With the vest and the whole 9, and they all came out and started asking questions, started digging through the van. Or after a while, my friend's just like, oh, why'd you pull us over? And he's just like, you guys are singing real loud, disturbing the peace.
He's looking for something.
Yeah. Fuck. We knew. I think as soon as he got behind us, we're like, "Get ready, guys. We know already. Like, we know the drill." But there's a certain way they drive up behind you and read your plate. And in Florida, they don't even act shy because they want the process of them being up on your ass to make you do something to even justify something else outside of them running your plate. It's like, oh, we're swerving now. Woo, got you, motherfuckers. Right. So it's like, so whenever they'd pull up, we'd be like, "All right, guys." It's like, "What's it for?" It's like, "I know the lights are good, whatever. We'll see. But apparently singing too loud is a crime.
They use noise ordinance
as
probable. See, what people don't realize about cops sometimes, they have to have probable cause in order to pull you over on a public roadway.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times they use things like, that tire tread looked too low. Like we call them BS charges where I was from. It's like guys would pull them over for some BS and end up having to write that charge because he found something as a result of it.
Right.
And so many guys got like addicted to that, thinking that, oh, I'm going to go out and find things today. But like, here's the thing. What are they all searching for? They're all searching for drugs.
Yeah.
And it's like, and usually it's just pot. Like people just like, if they smell a little bit of pot, they're like going there and they're trying to find other things too. Like maybe you'll catch a controlled substance or something like that. But like a lot of people are out there, a lot of cops are out there just searching for drugs. So so they're like violating people's rights essentially to pull them over so that they can find these drugs and get this charge and look, awesome essentially. So that's the big problem. So I think, man, if they would just legalize marijuana nationally, you would have so many less problems all over the country in terms of police overreach, because they use that as like that's kind of become what police have done for so long in certain areas. That's like the one criminal charge that you can just catch lots of people on, that and DUIs. But DUIs are only a certain time of the day. But if you go to a certain area where the culture is embedded around marijuana, you're going to get tons of charges. I mean, that happened where I was from. Like people would know, hey, I can go over here and I can catch a bunch of guys with dope. I had to arrest people for pot back in the day. A lot of times, I wouldn't if I didn't have to, right? But like some guys, that's what all they want to do is find that little bag of dope, and legally they're in the right. They could do whatever they want, and in terms of that. But I think that if that wasn't an option, like if you had to find coke or something like that, and it doesn't have a smell to it or anything like that, and heroin, it doesn't have, like, there's indicators, right? So if you see some paraphernalia standing out or something like that, but you're not going to smell it when you walk up to
And
the
you're
car.
not going to do random pullovers as much.
To me, weed was like that. It was kind of like that keystone to getting into that car. Like, do they smell it? Like, ooh, do I say I smell it? Or if somebody smokes in their car all the time, then you're just like going to be easily harassable, you know? And I think, man, if we got rid of that, like, it'd be such a big difference. Already, just like overnight, you see a big difference in drops of contacts. What people would consider to be like
look at Colorado, right?
But then it's still like kind of rough too, where it's like, so some people shouldn't fucking smoke, and then they shouldn't get behind the wheel of a car on top of that. Sure. So it's like, fuck, it's like a necessary evil, but it's like eat this.
Well, there's other signs,
it's like,
you know,
fuck,
like
it's like both sides make sense again.
There's signs, hopefully, or usually, like if someone's on something and they shouldn't be driving, you know, you can tell usually.
Yeah, it shouldn't just be a smell or something.
Yeah.
That
So
could be
NHTSA, the National Information Traffic School, something educate. I don't remember exactly.
What's the acronym?
It's called NHTSA. NHTSA, they basically control all the different like road laws and recommendations for certain things, and they're the ones that have the field sobriety test, the FSTs for drunk drivers and whatnot. But they have this thing called the drug recognition examination, DRE, and that they can tell you if you're on an upper or downer, if you're on cannabinoids, if you're on all different types of stuff, just based on tests they give you, like physical tests, like watching your eyes, like they'll test certain things to do with attention and stuff, pupil dilation, all that kind of stuff. You know, they'll like push on your hands and stuff and see where your balance goes, because they can actually tell. Yeah, I knew some guys that were DRE specialists and stuff like that, and they were pretty good at it. And almost every time they take the person to the hospital, get a warrant to draw their blood, and they would usually find exactly what they thought they had. So it does exist. It's just to what level are they gonna be able to tell you if you're too inebriated to do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like that place in Boston, I mean, you get a bigger fine for smoking a cigar in the park than you would for smoking a joint.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
like
they changed the law now. It's
it's like a bigger deal to smoke tobacco in like a public place, and I think there you have to be 21 to get tobacco as well, and it's fucking expensive.
In Boston?
As fuck. Yeah. I remember going there.
Tobacco, man. That's a difficult one, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I used to have adults hook me up and buy them for me. I was just thinking the other day, like, if some kids approach me to buy cigarettes, I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. No way.
Yeah.
That's one cool thing I can't pay forward, man. Like, whatever cool that people were cool to me when I was younger, but I don't know. That maybe they weren't as cool as I thought for going through with it.
Well, I think when we talk about tobacco, it's one of those things that, like, it's obviously a cognitive enhancer, but it's a very short-lasting stimulant, and it's highly addictive.
Fuck yeah.
So just even if it didn't ruin your lungs, even if it didn't do all these problems that it gives you, like, to be physically dependent on a substance, like even a shorter acting than caffeine. So it's like if I drink a coffee, I'm not gonna have coffee like kind of shakes until not coffee shakes, but coffee like what's the word?
Withdrawal.
Like withdrawal. I'm not gonna have a draw for like 24 hours at least, right?
Okay.
But with nicotine, I think the withdrawal period is something like a few hours. Like if you haven't smoked in 3 or 4 hours.
Sooner than that for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
like,
short window.
but it's such a short one. So what happens whenever you can't get a hold of your nicotine? You just become like a jerk.
See, that's
You know,
the
it's
thing.
like,
though.
yeah.
That's the thing
Irritable?
that where I won't do anything that will change me if I don't have it. It's like being at work, whatever. That no one could ever. You'll never know if I'm hanging out. Is he sober? And usually people think that when I am sober that I'm baked. And I'm not. It's usually just, I don't know, maybe I just look more tired.
Just chill, man.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess.
just chill.
But yeah, anything that, I stopped for close to a year, and just after a while, it was just like, I kind of missed the taste and stuff. Like, it's just something like, I just enjoy it. God damn it. But it's like, I think I made a post about coffee before where it's like, I'm used to dealing with people. It's, I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm an asshole. Deal with it.
I'm like that.
Okay.
I'm not a jerk, but I haven't had my coffee. I'm just not up, you know?
Yeah. But some people really, like, their, like, real mood is like, it's done. Maybe you shouldn't talk to them before they have
Well, it's
coffee.
like you have like, you get to the point with caffeine, especially where you just, like, I've been there where I was drinking like 3 energy drinks a day. Like I would have a coffee in the morning and 3 energy drinks during the day, and it was like ruining me. And I just had to go cold turkey and just stop completely. That was when I was younger, you know?
Yeah.
And then finally, when I reintroduced and had a better relationship with the drug, because caffeine, it's like it's the most most used drug that we have on the planet, pretty much.
I realized a big part of the nicotine with me, or like the process of it, is the process. Like some of it's sure hitting a little nicotine, nice, but some of it's just taking that 5-10 minute break from whatever and just being outside,
reset,
hearing nothing. Yeah, just even doing choreography. There's been so many times I talked to a lot of people about like changing your environment. Like, I can't believe it's been 30 whole minutes and you can't come up with an idea. I mean, you've been doing the same fucking thing over and over. I can't believe nothing new's come of this. Like, go literally smell some fucking fresh air, see some shit go by, get your endorphins up, man. Your imagination will start running wild, and then those kind of ideas will just start flowing in.
When I was a teenager, everybody would go for their smoke breaks. So I was like, do I get a break too?
Right.
I was like, do I get a break too?
I always encourage that shit. There'd be one or two people like Adam Lytle sometimes. Like, I'm not smoking, but I just want to sit down with you for a little bit and just kind of, get my legs moving around, not just looking at, the same four walls. And that it's good, man. You got to look around, change your perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Jessica Chris says, Cody, you're so on point with the pay. She's a police officer. We are currently short with our with basically no applications in our pool. Starting pay is $31,000.
Yikes.
Who's gonna live on that?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You
you can't have a family.
You're
can't do
encouraging
anything,
corruption. You're encouraging lower quality applicants. It's like the goal when you're doing something, when you are insisting on better quality from a person, the worst possible thing you can do is defund them.
What's it like getting like promoted in that field? Is it based off of like the shortness of time that you've made the most impact? Like, I've taken this many criminal off the streets. Is it just this much time with impeccable service?
I'm sure it's different in every department, but in the departments that I was at, it was basically like, first of all, it's time in, so you don't get to be at my department, it was patrolman, corporal, sergeant.
You can't fast track
captain, assistant chief, and chief.
You got to go through like all the channels.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was time, right? So you couldn't even be an officer, a supervisor like corporal, sergeant, or lieutenant until so many years in, right? Unless they're going to make special, exemptions, basically if they don't have anybody, you know what I mean? Which I think at one point did when they switched over from police chiefs, and a lot of people left and came and whatnot. But what you see a lot of, what really happens is you take a test based on like the knowledge you're supposed to know for that supervisor role, like corporal, and then from there you're graded on how many sick days have you taken, how well in the test did you do, do you have recommendations for people in the department that say that you should get this role, are you black or female, because you get points for that. So you get points for it's an affirmative action thing.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy that even that has to happen.
You get points for a college degree. You get points for a couple of the different things like that. But you don't get points for a college degree on your hiring process with the application. But I've heard that places like Auburn, they essentially just they look at the stacks and they just separate them, who has a degree, who doesn't, and they just use the degree stack.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes
Which
sense,
would, like,
though.
according to the dream, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You work hard and do this. You should be like pushed to the front of the line.
I know plenty of great officers that don't have a degree, right? But those officers could have one.
Yeah,
they could get one.
Just think of your money. Just think of your money, and if this guy
all the good,
got himself a degree,
all the really good officers I know and knew were very much smart enough to get a college degree. They just didn't because they got into that job earlier. They were family that was in that job, and they were smart folks, and they knew more about the law than I did because they would sit there and had the conscientiousness and just to sit there and study. And I was so ADHD that I learned things quick, but I wasn't the guy to sit down and study.
Right.
Right.
So, Grisel said, I once had a cop pull me over for going 35 and a 25. However, the speed limit was 35. I double checked the speed limit signs after he let me go, but as soon as the cop reached my wind, As soon as the cop reached my wind, he instantly accused me of having drugs, ordered me out of my vehicle, and proceeded to search my entire vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, that's happened to a lot of people.
I remember being in the Universal break room, and coincidentally, I didn't realize halfway through my story that I was talking to a whole table full of white people. There were about 7 or 8 people there, all eating lunch at the same time. We just start talking about cops and whatever. And I'm telling just another random story. A cop pulled my friend over looking for a total opposite car. We're in a gold Honda Accord. They were looking for a white Corolla. And as soon as they pull up, bow, lasers, don't even fucking think about running. Yeah, and I'm like, fucking no one is, man. We're all out, gunpoint, whatever. But as soon as they say that, one of the girls is like, they ask you to step out of the car? And I'm like, yeah. Then everyone starts looking confused, and I'm like,
what is that like?
I was like, has anyone ever asked you guys to step out of a car? And they're like, no. I'm like, what? They're like, do they ask you? I'm like, I've never been pulled over once and not been asked to step out of the car. I didn't even know that was like a thing that you could turn down. It took me a while to realize that I could be like, why? I always just thought it was like not dying today, or like, nope, you're not getting any aggression or
in some
resisting.
states like California, they really abuse that.
Yeah,
they abuse it because like I don't want you to be in the car because you could have weapons in the vehicle.
Something.
Well, if I'm going to let you go back to your vehicle, you need to let me search it. And you're like,
I've always gone to the point where like I've
rights.
gotten on cops' nerves. We're like, I'm going to reach my left hand. You don't have to do all that, man. You know, we're all friends here. But none of my friends hold me against my will and tell me to do a bunch of stuff with weapons on them. So I mean, I just want you to know I don't have any problems, and I'm moving now. And then again, you don't have to. And anyways, I'm handing it to you. And like, I'm just gonna be as precautious as possible. I've been pulled over in my neighborhood too many times and asked what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
Or if I know where I am.
You're in Atlanta?
Florida, yeah. Seminole County.
Yeah, and that sucks, man. It's like one of those things, but it's at what point are we going to say in our society, okay, the police are allowed to do A, B, and C as opposed to what we're seeing now, right? Like you can stop people, but like you really need to be strict about who you're allowed to get out of their car, right? And like I said, if we get in the drug war, nobody's going to be worrying about it anymore because they're all looking for drugs. Like, yeah, maybe you're carrying
it becomes like, why are you pulling them over? It's like if the reason you're pulling them over for, unless you roll up and you see a butcher knife and a bloody shirt or something, step out. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, you were going 5 over. I need you to step out for some reason. I need to see if you stumble, but also, I don't know.
But there's also what you were talking on a different podcast, like, sometimes you pull someone over and you're walking up to the window and you get shot before you even talk to them.
Yeah.
Right?
That's actually why a lot of police officers are so scared going into most situations, because in academy, the one thing I say they did harp on the entire time was, you're going to be killed.
It's a roll.
You're going to be shot at every single day of your life. Is could be your last. You need to prepare and have last will. Like literally, they were making us set up recommending that we would set up our last will and testament at academy. But here's the thing. I know guys that got shot.
That's realistic, though.
You know, I had a friend that got shot. He shot and killed in Auburn, Alabama. You know, he was just going to a domestic violence call. There was a guy called him 1096. It means crazy. He was out in the field. They had just been involved in that conversation or in that argument. When he arrives to step up onto the trailer steps, the guy shoots him from the grass, kills him, and then shoots one of my other friends too. But he survived. But it was one of those situations where it's just like, man, like, cops have a hard freaking job, and they kind of have what ends up happening is they end up
it's nuts.
They end up preparing for the lowest common denominator, like the worst thing that can happen, and then they take that mentality out into the rest of us who are so. Let's just say this. Yeah, you may have had your times growing up where things were rough, and I'm and I may experience things in my life that are rough, and other people may experience some really rough times, but like they're dealing with the worst 10% of the population all the time, all the time. So when they meet somebody that's like a good, honest, just like normal human being that's just going about their daily work life or whatnot, it's hard for some police officers to turn it off.
Yeah.
And they get caught in that process, and they get so used to violating people's rights, because when they do that in these areas where people are actually up to some stuff and they see results from it, that just becomes the way they police. And that shouldn't be. There should be a way that we can maintain the officer integrity across. It used to be where like officers, there were some good old boy natures in some departments, but like when you take that oath of being a police officer, the majority of that oath is like, I will not be corruptible. That's what the majority of that oath is. I will have high integrity and good character and let my personal life shine as an example to people in my professional life. Like that's part of the thing. I've loved to read it at some point to people, but like I feel like we don't have enough officers following that oath of office, because we keep telling they're people, but I think we have to hold them to a higher standard, but we have to get a better quality.
It's like I'm thinking like we don't just there's a lot of, you can say maybe slightly below average that could possibly fight in our army or something like that. But I mean, it's not fucking easy. Like, it's difficult to fight for our country, but not to fight to like retain or to keep order and peace. So it's like
policing's harder. Like on a base level.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. But it seems like the army guys have to go through more to do what they do, and the policing is like more consistent. But you have to do less.
You know the difference.
And to deal with like crazy budget.
Budget.
Right.
People haven't made it enough of a priority
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the bubbling of that. Like they won't want to pay their officers better. It was always a fight in the department that I was at. We were trying to get paid more. I was like, guys, at the time I'm making $13.48 an hour in my 4th year when I was working at one of the police departments. $13.48 an hour. They've since increased the pay there because it was a big sticking point.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to switch departments to go to a little bit higher pay. I still didn't stay because the pay still wasn't enough. But it was like, what people don't realize is that $13.84 an hour or 81 an hour, however I remember how it was 13 something, and making that, it's like less than our garbage man was making in the town. And I get it, garbage man is a job that a lot of people don't want, right? Sanitation worker, but
he's typically not worried about dying though,
right? But it's not also just dying, because on the realm of things, police officers don't rank in the top 10 of like the most deadly careers, but they're most police deaths. I mean, but those other careers, people aren't dying because people are trying to kill them. They're dying because they forgot to hang, to secure a ladder,
an accident,
or something fell on them. And police officers, the majority of them do die in car accidents, believe it or not. But a lot of those car accidents are involving high-speed pursuits, involving answering calls. So it's in the line of duty. But like that, having the threat of another human being being the reason that you die, and that your training is the way that's supposed to lower that ratio, right? That puts you in a high state of alert all the time.
Right.
So that's a difficult part. People don't understand how that's going to get solved. And I would say that when I was making 13 something an hour, that's not enough to raise a family. And on top of that, it's also not enough to get shot at. It's not enough to get sued and like be taken to court. I got taken to court for a tiny small car accident, and everything. They ended up settling and stuff for it, but it was like, if I wasn't a police officer, I would not have been taken to court for that. Like it was the most simple situation you'd ever see in your life. And it was like, okay, it was obvious, and the city wasn't giving them any trouble and things like that. But still, people want to go make their payday and stuff like that. And that's why things like qualified immunity exist. Yeah. Because I knew officers already that were in so many court cases that they barely could even make it to their job. Yeah. They were going to Montgomery every single day. They were going to Atlanta for different federal cases they were involved in, and state cases they were involved in, and appeals and all these kind of things. And the muck and the mire, because they have to give their testimony in court, and they have to be there fighting for their case and whatnot. So these things get difficult. I think part of what we're seeing is we have a really jacked up legal system in our country where it's
crazy.
Yeah, and it's like the lawyers have really exploited it for their own monetary purposes.
Right. Getting money to pay people more, it's going to be difficult as long as something like internal affairs exist or needs to exist.
Yeah, you're talking about investigating their own officers.
Yeah, it's like the fact that that's like a division of people that have to be trained because there's that much consistency with problems within like departments all throughout whatever. It's like, that's fucking sketchy. It sucks. It's like,
you get a lot of BS though in internal affairs too.
Even there you go, and that's even like, fuck the irony. Fuck, you fucking are the good ones. You're the ones that are getting the good ones that stop being good. You're so good that you're getting the good ones back to being good, and you fucked up too. It's like, it just goes back to just being people, and you could put whatever uniform on or any outfit or costume in our case or whatever, but it's like,
I think there needs to be third-party review panels. Like people say citizen review panels, but I don't believe in just a citizen review panel. I think there should be a professional
most
review.
People don't give a shit.
I think they could.
They just pretend to.
They could honestly just employ.
Don't even want to do jury duty.
Yeah, well, I think people could employ. Like there could be companies that pop up, right? And those companies' jobs are to do a third-party investigation, which those things already exist.
Well, yeah,
but they do third-party investigations involving the complaints. You know what I mean? Right. And they interview people and they talk to them, and they do a third-party investigation. But these people that are doing the investigations are former police officers, and they all have the same training.
Oh, yikes, yeah.
And not maybe former police officers, but they can be. Some of them can be. Like the people that are working, maybe one's a former police officer, one's a lawyer, one's
their partners.
A human, lots of different specialists.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Basically, investigate this kind of stuff, so to make sure that it doesn't really get pushed on.
I mean, if you look at like insurance, they have for Progressive, for example, they have a guy or girl who will drive a Progressive vehicle to see the car and give an estimate and let them know what's going on, see if they actually believe what happened, and give investigate everything. Yeah. That's what we should do with a lot.
I mean, and they already do that a lot of times with traffic accidents. Yeah. Like they'll have an actual certified, usually ex-cop traffic homicide investigator go out there and investigate the for insurance companies on the side or as a job after they leave the department and retire.
I can't remember her name that left a comment, but she was talking about getting pulled over for like a 35 and a 25.
It was a guy. It was Chris Sell.
Chris. And I was kind of wondering, since you were a cop, like, there's always like this mystery 5-mile grace.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 miles per hour. But if you're going like 25 under, you're good. Or if I'm in a bad mood, if you're going 22, you're fucked. And then there's like the fast lane.
Are you wanting my opinion?
Yeah,
Okay.
just an opinion. I'm not like, what is the flat out, undebatable
So where
truth?
I was,
But
and
it's
then
like,
everybody's gonna hear some great information for everybody. Where
Yeah.
I was in Alabama, and it seems to hold true around here in Georgia too. It's no matter what, if you're going 5 over, you ain't getting stopped unless you're in a bad area of town where somebody is fishing for that kind of thing.
Right.
Or that's the same kind of guy that would stop you for rolling a stop sign and things like that.
Mhm.
Right.
But like typically on highways and interstates and places 35 and up, it's 5 over is acceptable. Like no one's ever going to touch you. 10 miles an hour, most people won't. But if it's witching hour and they're looking for DUIs,
yeah, which is totally understandable.
And they're
10,
looking-
it's, yeah.
yeah, and they're looking for DUIs. But where I was, believe it or not, 15 miles an hour was you're getting a ticket. Yeah,
15.
And a lot of people I knew that were not searching for drugs or
Mhm.
weren't searching for extra stuff. Just wanted to go out there and find people that are breaking traffic laws.
Just
and-
straight up tickets.
and just give the tickets. They were like 15 over. And if they pulled you over 15 over, 90% of the time you're getting a ticket, unless they sent some extenuating circumstance or
a lot
something.
of like open road out there.
No, not really. There's open roads. There's out in the county, but where I worked was a municipality.
So I always wonder if it's like different, where it's like, well, closer to the highway you are, a little more lenient. The more in the neighborhood you are, even if it's not a bad neighborhood, but like just a residential
so
that
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
to
You
get
also-
everybody going a little bit.
Well, people always say that police are supposed to be community police officers. They're supposed to
Right.
be working in the communities. And what ends up happening a lot of times is these communities will complain and say, "Hey, the people are speeding through our neighborhood. We need to have them stopped." So that's when
Right.
you're going to get people that are
Mm.
getting stopped for 5 over,
Yeah.
10 over, because somebody was sitting around and complained. But that's usually the police officer's job when he pulls the person over and say, "Hey, listen, this community's been complaining about people speeding through their
Mm.
neighborhood, so we're stopping anybody that's going over 5." I would say something like that.
That's when it's like discretionary.
I stopped people for going 4 miles an hour over the speed limit
Mm.
before.
Mm.
But I didn't give them a ticket. But it was like, it was through a neighborhood, and that neighborhood would specifically complained. So we went there, and anybody that was going too fast, we just stop and say, "Hey, here, check their information," all that kind of stuff, and get them gone, But just tell them people have been complaining. So that just
Yeah.
kind of gives people the mental
totally.
understanding. Now, there were people who were going like 30 miles an hour over the speed limit through a neighborhood, like 75.
I always wondered, man. I've
through
gotten
a
brave
residential.
in, like the fast lane with
Yeah.
a few cops and been like maybe like 87 and an 80 or something, and just
Yeah.
been like, this is cool, but I'm gonna get off this lane and slow down because I feel like he's not
You say
slowing down.
87
still-
in
I s-
an
I don't-
80?
Yeah.
I don't
Where have you
pass.
seen 80 miles per hour?
Did I say 80? Or maybe I meant 85.
No, I'm saying I've never seen 85 in the U.S. I've seen 75 max.
You never seen 85?
Mm.
I've never seen 85 miles an hour.
Am I tripping?
I've heard 85 exists up in like Montana and stuff
Really?
like that, the big open roads.
guess that-
and it
I've
goes-
been to like driving
gets-
through like from here to California or
Yeah.
here to Boston.
I think it does exist out west.
Okay.
Oh, really?
The big
I'm about to
open
say.
roads, I think they do like an 80, 85 or something like
Oh,
that. And then,
interesting.
but it also
Okay.
has a rain speed too. So if the rain is
okay.
if it's rain or dark,
Yeah,
you
I've
have a
never
day
seen
and
that.
light speed too. It's
Even
weird.
without, it's just like kind of you're going past that 5-mile grace, and then
Totally.
it's also the fast lane, and you're
Yeah.
kind of encouraged. It's like I feel like it's known if someone's behind you,
Yeah.
you kind of have to go, but it's
Yeah.
also a cop, and it's like I'm not going 10 over, motherfucker. I'm about to get over.
don't
and-
ever pass cops. Just don't.
Yeah,
don't pass
I've
them.
never.
I've gotten
No,
pretty
you-
lucky with that,
If,
unintentionally.
you're going dead
but-
on the speed limit, then sure.
Yeah.
But like if you have to go 5 over to pass that cop, like why are you passing?
I've
him?
gotten
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front of
don't
a
come
cop,
out.
but just merging, never like getting in
Yeah,
front of him.
that's
Like
what- yeah.
someone was in front of him and they moved, and I just overtook before he could get up. But
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
I was
Yeah.
feeling froggy that day.
No,
Yeah.
one time I'll tell you my 2 of my cop stories. One was when I was 16 years old, and I was on the way to see a girlfriend at the time. I was really excited because I had my own car. I think I've only been in my car for less than a year.
Mm.
It was a truck. It was an F-150 Ford Flare side with a fade paint job. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Magnesium rims. But
white privilege.
the thing is, we sold that
Man.
car for exactly what we bought it for. So
Oh, nice.
Damn.
keep it in good condition. It was used, so you
Yeah.
used cars. But it was a dope first car for myself. But so what ended up happening is I'm going to see this girl, and I'm seeing that the weather's starting to get bad. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hurry up. And I was also excited to go see her. So I'm like speeding down the road, and I see this black like Ford F-150, I think was in front of me. It was a black truck. And I'm just like, screw it. And I go around and I pass around this car. This is not a passing lane.
Right.
This is not a passing line. And I was like, as I'm doing it, I was only 16, so I was feeling super guilty as I was doing it. But I was 16 and stupid, so I did it anyway. It's been a long time since then.
Commit.
And then as soon as I passed it, blue lights
And that's
popped on
amazing.
inside. And that's the first time as a kid I'd ever experienced getting pulled over.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'd been pulled over before, and I'd actually gotten a ticket and several. But that was the first time I'd seen an undercover vehicle with blue lights. I never even knew those things existed when I was that age, because I just grew up in the country. You know, they didn't exist in my small town where I grew up. This was another town over. It turns out it wasn't a police officer; it was an FBI agent.
What?
Yeah, it was an
Oh,
FBI
man.
agent, which they do have jurisdiction to pull you over, but it's not common.
It
at
has
all.
not at
yeah,
all.
I
it's
didn't even
like-
know that was not a common thing, but it scared the crap out of me for so long because like he pulls me over, he goes, "I'm so and so with the FBI. Why are you going? Where are you going? Where are you headed? You got a dead body in the trunk? What's up?" He said that exactly, and I was like, "No, I'm just going to my girlfriend's house," and he was like.
Right on.
And then the guy, I heard the guy yell something from the other car, like, "Come on, we gotta go!" And then like he's just like, "Slow it down," and gave him my license back and ran back to the car. He didn't have a ticket book, so he couldn't write me a ticket.
Yeah.
Like ticket books are something that like state troopers, county.
he thought you really
municipalities
did
have.
something.
So he was probably just checking what I was doing, right?
Yeah, time.
So yeah, but
That's
I was flying.
crazy.
Yeah, another time, my buddy, when I was 15, I wasn't even driving yet. My buddy Tim, we were riding down the road in his it was a tiny little Ford Ranger. I think it was a Ford Ranger, old one, like the old little red Ford Rangers.
Yeah.
Like 94 Ford Ranger. And we're in there, we're blasting the music, and in the back of his truck is like my guitar amp and my Fender Stratocaster. Like it was like I had a nice little setup for a guitar and an amp. That amp's actually still back right over here. So it was in the back of his truck, and we're flying down the road, and all of a sudden he cuts onto a dirt road through like a field, like a kind of like an old cornfield, but it was nothing back there. And he cuts down there, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He was like, "Shortcut." And then we start going. We're blasting the music. I can't see anything in the side view mirrors or the rear view mirror because it's for the driver. It's for the driver. So then I turn around, like all of a sudden I see like flashing red and blue, and I like look behind me, and there's a cop right behind us, like flooring it, lights going crazy, and I'm like in panic mode. And he's like, "We're gonna lose him in the pasture." I'm like, "No, we're not. We're not gonna lose him. Like, just stop right now." So he leads this cop on a chase for like 3 or 4 minutes. It's enough to get beat. And so as soon as we get there, there's 2 cop cars that pull up right behind us. It's a small town. Pull up right behind us, do a felony stop on us, make us get out of the car with our hands. We're having to walk backwards towards them, get on the ground, all that kind of stuff. I get a knee in my neck, and I get handcuffed, and we're talking about all this other kind of stuff. And they checked all my stuff. They wanted to impound his truck and impound my Fender Strat and my whatnot. So they took the information out off it instead of it. I was like, "Please don't." I was like, "Don't impound my stuff. I haven't done anything wrong." I didn't even know he was running from you guys. Like, I just listening to music and I see your lights and he keeps running. So anyway, long story short is he ends up getting a ticket for evasion. Doesn't get taken to jail because it's a small town.
What?
Doesn't get taken to jail because he wasn't other than being an
Didn't
idiot.
he destroy a cornfield?
No, he went down. It was the roads in between, like the roads.
Yeah.
The roads in between. Yeah, so like
I thought you were driving.
that might be an example of privilege, but it's also an example of a small town. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
totally.
small town where like, you know, he wasn't, well, they didn't know his family or anything like that, but it was like, pretty much he was just like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, that was stupid." And they have to realize, do we want to throw this kid, I think he was like 17 at the time, they're like, "Do we want to throw this kid in jail over something dumb like this?" You know, and he was a juvenile, so they, didn't do anything other than write him a ticket, and he had to go to court for it.
Yeah.
But that was one of those situations, man. Like, you have to understand if a cop's if pulling somebody over. Years later, I looked at it and I was like, "Yo, if a cop has to pull somebody over that's running from them, like it's already a different level of force that's going to be used because why is this person running?" That's what some people don't understand, though. Like, they're like, "Oh, well, the guy was running, but then he stopped. Wanted the cop tackling." I'm like, I'm not saying he should tackle him.
That could be his last stand right there. Like,
yeah, it's
I'm
happened
running out
before.
of steam. Let me use what energy I have now to fucking
exactly
stop
why.
and unload in this shit, or at least buy myself some more time by tripping him, slamming
Every
him,
time.
breaking
Dude,
his
not
bottle,
every time.
something.
A majority of the time that I would have people that give up,
If
they
people
would stop,
thought survival
and the second I would go
enough,
put hands on them, they would swing.
Yeah,
Or they would try to dart off again. So it became a thing. When somebody runs from you, and even they stop, you still hit them. It's like you still not punch them, but you still knock them down, tackle them to the ground. Now you shouldn't be doing it to the effect where you're trying to break somebody's back.
Right.
Like, you should just be like, like a textbook tackle, essentially taking them down and try not to hurt that person, because ultimately you're responsible for what you do to someone.
If they're restrained, they're restrained. I mean,
if you get them in handcuffs, dude, you better not ever touch somebody like that again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the craziest part. We did have a situation like that where somebody did go a little too far, and pretty much everybody ratted him out. So
cool.
It does happen. That's the thing that, like, Paris was saying last time. He didn't understand. How, like, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of cops do get ratted out by other cops.
Yeah, as long as
That's
that
all the time.
accountability
But we just
keeps
don't hear
rising
about
and
it,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
The news never covers it because it's not controversial and it's not.
Yeah, well, it's not
news.
Not too grabby. No, it depends on which race they all were in the
Yeah.
situation
Yeah,
and what was
very-
currently going on.
Do we not find that creepy at all?
Oh, it's fucking crazy.
How creepy is that? That they're pushing that agenda specifically, and there's gonna be people in this comment section. They're gonna be like, "No, that's real. Like it's like they're hunting black people in the streets. Like that's a real thing." There are gonna be people that are gonna be saying that. Like, but isn't it weird that the news has picked that train and
It's
rode
just
that
old
one?
school. They got nothing going on right now. It's just
Election
old,
year.
It's a fail safe of all fail safes. I mean,
Mhm.
let's make it about race. You can fucking make American Idol about race, and it'll flood the TV screens for like the next month.
And just like the damage that's done by it. Because I was telling, I don't know if we said this during the podcast or if I said it afterwards last time. I remember back whenever I went to college and whatnot from community college, I was in a, over 80% black dorm. Like I was hanging out with a lot of my friends were black. We were just hanging out and having a good time, man. It was like brothers inside that place, like playing Halo and wrestling and having a good time. And then over the years, after
You were wrestling black people?
Oh yeah, man. And I even won sometimes. It's like, ooh, man. But the whole thing was like
Not while he was a cop.
No. Yeah, no, I wrestled lots of people when I was a cop, both black and white, Hispanic, all types of
That's
stuff.
just gonna
but
suck. How much does it suck wrestling in like cop pants and shit?
It's
like,
terrible.
The uniform.
It's
like,
terrible.
That's what's one huge
No, that
thing. It's
everybody's
like,
grabbing your stuff all the
It seems like
time.
it's built
Yeah.
more for like a ceremony or presentation than like I feel like I would be in it a certain way. Like you put on formal clothes
Yeah.
and you kind of your posture is a little
Yeah.
different. Like that shit doesn't look like it gives at the knees when you're bending or like
Right.
no elastic at all.
the type A, with leather belts and stuff like that. They call it the safari gear belts, and they're like really stiff and stuff like that.
Financing comes in.
I mean, as soon as I was able, after my year and a half of being in police, and we were able to switch equipment to like a nylon gear and stuff like that. They call it
Yeah.
web gear, and that's way better. It's
Yeah.
way better. And in the county, they would use like vest covers that had like the gear, but so it looks like a tack vest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that does look more tactical, but it's also better on your back and hips.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why a lot of people wear those. It's not just to look like a badass. It's like they're wearing that stuff so that they can,
Yeah, my bad. That popped in my
do
head.
their
and I
job.
got that visual, and I was just like, it's just gotta be fucking. I don't know, knee pads.
Well, that's
that
people.
shit fucking
Yeah,
sucks.
People
I'm thinking
thought-
like stunt work and like
it's terrible. Like,
Yeah.
this is uncomfortable. The uniform,
dude,
You should have pads.
Yeah.
try getting in like 500-yard sprint.
No,
With,
I don't
with
want to.
with somebody in that gear, and you're in Type A polyester uniform.
What kind of shoes are they? Like the more
So what they give you is crap. They usually give you like it depends on the department, but like some departments you can go get something nice 511 stuff or something like that. 511 boots, but there's always boots. You're in boots.
okay,
But
boots.
I quickly switched to a pair of boots that were made for running.
Right, about
They're-
to say running in boots sounds like a fucking
They
nightmare.
don't even make that shoe anymore. It was called the 511 Speed 6, and I loved that thing, man. It was like, but the sole was still hard enough to where you're not getting nails up through your shoes. Because that's the thing as a police officer, you're responding to traffic accidents, you're responding to rescue operations, you're responding to just about everything. Like we really put everything on our cops, everything.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people say, okay, well let's just introduce this new job to take some things away from cops. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but you just need better cops. You need cops that are able to do all those things.
Yeah.
You already expect them to do all those things. Let's make it where they can do those things.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
like-
without
You know-
cops, you better hope your neighbor's in the mood to help.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and you better hope. Otherwise, boop, boop.
The
boop,
idea is
boop.
that the idea about policing in general is it's supposed to uphold this universal standard across
Right.
the entire area.
It is what it's supposed to
It's
be.
not just like who do I
fucking
know.
awesome. Yeah.
It's not. It's
yeah.
like this person comes in and enforces the actual standards. But now we're thinking by talking to everybody is that a lot of people don't want the standards to be so high. They're like, a lot of people, what I'm seeing a lot more of on the extreme sides is people are becoming a little bit more libertarian on all sides. Doesn't mean that's not just one direction of political affiliation, but like keeping the government out of their business. And a lot of people think that the government should be able to even stop you about anything. Like they should need to have way more probable cause to stop and talk to you than they even do. And I can kind of agree with that a little bit. Like people stopping people for seatbelts. I'm like, you're stopping people for seatbelts, but you're really looking for drugs. Or you're stopping people for seatbelts, but you're really looking for something else. You know what I'm saying? So like that's how our feature has worked. That's a feature of our system, and it's also just how it's worked out. So what do we do? What do we do now? Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
What do we
I'm just
do?
I'm thinking of alternate.
I know it's
alternative
getting close to lunch
solutions.
here.
I'm
But
thinking of like alternative solutions. I'm thinking of people I've heard suggesting like, machines are taking everybody's jobs in the future anyway. Like you got your red light sensors. Would there ever be a point where cars
Just,
are made with a sensor here on your shoulder and over there that when you drive by it, like, whatever, this guy isn't wearing his
It already
seatbelt.
exists.
At what point does it like become but on that end, when does it become it's just that, and cops are needed for like.
Well, you just have to have
an extreme example, like maybe reckless driving, something the machine can't like give you a consequence for. Like if you're not wearing that, they can mail you a ticket.
What's eventually going to happen is like the insurance companies are already doing it, where they stick that little USB in your car.
Yeah.
And that USB, I think once we get to where all cars are like that, then it'll be easier.
Just automatically in
and
there.
It'll essentially just either. But that's the problem.
Chip.
We as Americans, and if you're a liberty-based person, you like the idea of like, hey, yes, we have laws, but we break
like
those
freedom,
laws when it's necessary. Like that's how everybody operates in life. Nobody's like wearing a seatbelt all the time because it's the right thing to do. Most people are wearing the seatbelt because they don't want to get a ticket,
right?
Or they want to save their own life, right? But like the people that aren't trying to save their own lives are doing it because they don't want to get a ticket. And it's like I'm kind of in that camp. Like I'm the kind of person like I hate wearing seatbelts, but like I do it because I know it's a little bit safer. But ultimately, I don't want to get pulled over. Like that's just
my
me.
views on it have changed. It's like I'll do it just for that reason. Now it's like I'm Venn diagramming that motherfucker. Like it's a little bit of probably better off, and also save myself like $60 or some shit. So.
But by no means do I do it because like, but by no means do I always do it because I just want to do the right thing. It's like I do it because there's consequences and whatnot. But I think we're gonna have to get to the point where we're going to be saying, okay, police are not going to be able to violate people's rights like they kind of used to. It's kind of gone too far where police can do too much. And that was, as a result, we've gotten a lot less violent crime rate in the United States. I mean, proactive policing has really stopped like violent crime in its tracks and made it really decline. But the thing is, the trade-off was now people kind of feel like they're being harassed 24/7 because they are. Like in certain areas, people are being over-harassed, Yeah. And we always said, the thing that we always say in Alabama is like harassment isn't somebody coming up and talking to you. Harassment is literally like somebody pushing you or saying something like fighting words or things like that to you. But what the colloquial term, harassment means bothering me. Like, why are you bothering me? Like, I'm going about my daily life. And I can only imagine being like a person of color where it's like you'll get stopped for random crap sometimes because of what people are doing that kind of look like.
And there's like a fine line, because like I told somebody the other day, I wear headphones when I go to the grocery store because sometimes people just feel fucking compelled to come up and tell me shit that I don't know.
I
like,
do
whatever.
the same thing.
I'm like, right on, but it's like there's a way you can come up and just be like, how's it going? Maybe you're gauging somebody. Maybe you are doing a little something. Maybe it's not profiling, but you're like, hey, how's it going, man? But when it's, hey, what are you doing? That becomes like something you have to answer to, not like answer for or something. That kind of makes sense.
Well, and that's like a proactive like community way of policing, like just talking to people, and then when something comes up and you notice something, then you can investigate verbally and things like that. But when every single interaction pretty much starts with stop and frisk or stop this car and pull this person out of the car, you're now setting a level of oppression.
Like the vibe should feel like if we were both walking, we would never stop and could accomplish like the saying, hey, how's it going? Just living life. Summer's beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. Now, hands in the pockets maybe. So what are we doing here? Yeah. Fuck. What the fuck are you doing here? I don't know. What the fuck? I don't usually answer strangers. Like, what the fuck? Why you ask me questions? Like, Well, and there's little tiny triggers that happen.
And it's that combination of like, that's what people's anecdotal experience is. That's what people are really mad about. That where it feel like they're being harassed by the cops, and the cops are just like constantly looking at them like they're criminals and things like that. But the other option is like if they don't, like what we also have to realize is that the majority of these bad situations, these shootings, all these types are not coming from random stop and frisk. They're coming from actual calls that are being called in by other black people that are like, are just other people in those communities that are witnessing a crime or something's going on. They're like calling the police because they need help. Right. And we have to learn to discern the difference between like this cop's just going out and just stirring up stuff. And
there's like when we do stunts and we're working with like an excited actor, and you can almost see the fucking blood in the water. Like there's like an 85% chance I'm about to get punched in the fucking face.
Yep.
And I can tell like a mile away, man. There's almost like that thing as like a cop where it's like you got it. If you're a sparring partner or something, when I go to work today, or when I go to respond to this call, like based on like the description, whatever, even not based, I gotta be ready for it to fucking go there. And if it does, I gotta be man enough to, even after I get hit, calm this fucker down and just restrain him. And my reward is that I didn't lose myself while going through that. And I know that's so fucking hard to say because as common patients as I am, go ahead and slap me in the face. We're gonna turn into fucking wild animals out here. It's like there's like that part of you can't ignore, but also it's like the oath you like what you sign up for. It's like you gotta, not to say you gotta expect that, man, but it's like what somebody would tell a gangster. Oh, you got shot? Well, fucking Bloods and Crips, right? You got your street cred. It's just like you gotta expect that. You're playing that game, you might get fucking shot. With the cops too, it's like people don't want to fucking go to jail. People don't, even on a minute level, somebody just doesn't want to feel inferior or whatever the fuck, or whoever's in the wrong, whatever. The guy could be psychotic on a, what's this, Flocka, angel dust, whatever the fuck, feeling superhuman, and you kind of got to expect this guy's going to try to claw your eyes out with his bare hands, and you have to know that once he's unable to, that's all you need. But and that's why you don't swing on me motherfuckers like the extra
like
shit.
People that we get with you are people that spit on you.
Right.
All the time, man.
I don't know how I would keep it together.
Like that's people don't understand that. Like I saw people posting a video the other day with the cops taking a shirt and pulled it over the guy's face, over top of his head, which is a common tactic if you don't have a spit thing.
Right.
And people were freaking out and talking about how oppressive that was and how this is like back into slave times and all this kind of stuff. You're like, the guy was spitting on him. Like, what are they supposed to do? How are you gonna put hands on and take a handcuffed person to a car?
Well, then they'd have to break down the situation
without their spitting on you. Like, the only way you can do that is to cover their face with something breathable. They're like, oh, it's just like George Floyd all over again. They're trying to suffocate him too. I'm like, what are you talking about, guys? Like, this is the hyperbolic language that I'm speaking of when people are just like, they don't see the new, like, as reasonable as we're being here about every situation, like, there's 1,000 people out there that are, for every single one of us, that are just freaking out about every single thing, and they don't have an understanding about how that situation works. They just pick the side of, like, I'm on the side of these people or I'm on the side of cops, right? And it's like, and everybody makes excuses for cops or makes excuses for the person that's committing the criminal act in the moment, or the person that's, you know, having something done to them. And you get something like the Rayshard Brooks shooting, where 5 people can watch the same video and have a completely different understanding of what just went down.
Right. It's weird.
What do you think about that, Rayshard Brooks shooting?
I don't think I've seen. Is that the one with the Waffle House or the
Wendy's here in Atlanta?
The Wendy's. That's when a guy was like drunk, but he wasn't driving. He was like pulled over.
He's in the drive-through.
Oh, he was in the drive-through.
In the drive.
See, this is about. I don't.
He passed out in the drive-through.
When I see that kind of stuff, I haven't seen George Floyd thing.
You don't have to see it.
Exactly. I don't have to. I've seen it a billion times already. Like, I don't need to see that shit. And the description is enough to, like, seriously turn my stomach. So I really can't even watch it. Like, it won't add any more fuel to my flame or motivation to my personal cause at all. So it's just, I understand what happened. But, yeah, I haven't even seen that one. So I just seen people, like you said, just picking at all the... So based on these 50 things, I'm assuming this is what happened. And then I'm just collecting more details as I go. Can't believe the news. I don't know which one to believe. So it's just...
That's the hard part. And also, people get... I heard somebody talking the other day about getting black fatigue is what they were calling it. Like, they're fatigued just, like, being black because of the way that media and social media and everything is...
That's what I was telling that post the other day. It's like, stop asking the one black friend you hang out with to answer questions on behalf of all black people. Because, like, just ask them what they feel about whatever, man, and pick their brain. The kind of pressures that to put on somebody to just be like... Outside of basic shit, you know, you ask your funny stereotype, and stereotypes are fucking funny. They're slippery slope, but it's fun to fucking, if a motherfucker's ashy, you call his ass out, and it is what it is. Or if this motherfucker's sunburnt, you gotta make fun of each other. It is what it is. But there's like that fine line of just like, you're at a party and suddenly a group of people are watching you talk and you feel like you're speaking on behalf of like the race. You ever been in like the college you were saying where it's like mostly black? Why do white people yada yada? Well, I know why I like this, but I can't tell you about my neighbor. He's the complete opposite of me. You might need to talk to him. I have black friends that deliberately troll white people.
Like, why do white people do this?
Yeah, of course. It works all the way around, man. Like Spanish people maybe just on par racist with white people. Yeah. It's just like fucking good God. Everyone's fucking guilty of some shit, man.
Yeah.
It's I used to get asked a lot about like police. You know, it always ends up me like talking about police stuff, and people are just like watching and listening because like, you know, you have stories and things like that. But it's I think sometimes maybe they're not asking too like for you to answer on behalf of all black people. But maybe they're trying to understand the subject from the at least the perspective of a black dude. You know, it's like okay, I want to at least understand his perspective, and maybe they don't take it as like the only perspective.
I mean, it could be how they're asking the question.
It's usually the way it is. It's the theme, the energy behind it. Like fucking, it's a hard thing to explain. Once you go through it a couple times or several fucking thousand times, it just becomes like, oh fuck, I know where this. Like, no.
I saw a thing the other day where a guy that posts online a lot that a lot of people in the stunt industry answer to or talk to him about. He always posts like kind of like controversial stuff, and you can tell sometimes he does it just to be a little bit more controversial.
Yeah.
But essentially, it was the post. I got it right here. It was, to my Caucasian friends and associates, please stop using these people to adhere to your views. You know. Yeah. And it's talking about like, essentially like, you know, these people do not represent Black America. Right. These people have sadly lost respect and for the love of their own race. And
that's the thing. I think like taking what I took from that was people that disagree with Black people that have different views, like use them to like throw them at their face, like, look, they're Black, so shut up. Like they fucking they use that kind of what I'm saying. They make them a poster child. Like, look, this is what you mean. Look, it's said right here in plain English. Like, no, we just kind of have the same tone. That's about as far as it goes. I don't understand.
So they used Candace Owens, Ben Carson, Kanye West, the Hodge twins, Terrence Williams, and Omarosa Manigault.
Omarosa is a man.
Is what?
Is a man.
Oh, is a man.
He's got a strong face. I'm just guessing.
Oh. No, Omarosa. She was the.
I know. I remember the. What was that fucking show called?
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice.
Yeah, like, Donald Trump.
The reason that motherfucker's president.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Popular motherfucker.
But I thought that was interesting when he posted that, because a lot of people were essentially like, you know, they don't represent Black America, and I was like, you know, me as a white person, I have a problem with putting any race in a one thought pool like that. That's weird.
But the thing is, it's like, to me, Candace Owens will say the same thing that Tommy Lauren will say, but no one will say like, thank God, pretty white girl sticking up for Black America.
Right.
They'll be like, Candace is sticking up for us too. Yeah. And then at no point, and you'll see this all throughout most any comment section, no one ever says, Tommy Lauren, fuck, she was so well spoken. That's always like the fucking thing that's like, I like Candace. She's pretty and well spoken. It's like, she's the only one that on your side that does that.
There has to be. Yeah,
there's only be the theme with that compliment with certain people.
Totally get on board with the fact that there's
that's not even like, and that's not even to fault her. It's like I said, like the followers that like use that to be like, there's a symbol of, I'm not all bad. I like Candace Owens and she's Black and she agrees with me, so I can't be racist or some stupid shit or whatever. However left the conversation's going.
Well, I would say that most people that are using that probably aren't racist at all, because the people that are using that example would, if they were racist, they wouldn't be using Black people in their examples. Period. I think that they would.
It just depends on what they're referencing, because Candace is like, don't feel sorry for George Floyd. That career criminal contributed nothing to like.
She really picks the most extreme.
I mean, I just figured out that she was a little like phony. Like, she was saying, you know, racism isn't a thing; it's in everybody's head. But apparently, she filed a lawsuit. Well, and she was in college over like discrimination and stuff.
I don't support Candace Owens and her views, but I will say this because I think she's very extreme. But like, I will say this: that argument against her is not true, because what happened is when she was in high school, she sued people for racism because she was a hard leftist. She was like lefty, like a liberal. Yeah. And she sued them over racism and all this kind of stuff and things like that. And I think she actually ended up winning. Yeah. But it was later in her life, a few years after, when she had some type of situation with the online business, something happened and people kind of came after her for having opposite views. That's when she took the red pill, you know, started switching her views. And that's when she became a big conservative star, because she changed her views because she saw her own coming after her for having a little bit different views.
And so that's like
it's a typical red pill moment.
That I knew, and it's understandable, but like to hear her say, like, it's kind of like when Lil Wayne was like, there is no racism. I never seen it. It's all in it. Like, what are you talking? Exactly. Right. I bet you haven't, Lil Wayne. Little Wayne. I'm sure you haven't.
I think that what we see racism as is probably not just skin color, but it's it is your race, your culture, and your socioeconomic background. All those things contribute to the way that people see you.
And I think that classism is probably maybe the worst.
Yeah.
Because even interrace, whatever, it gets divided that way.
Oh, for sure.
You know, you're white, but we're
You
this
don't
white.
see these
Or
rich-
you're black,
Right,
but
right.
come on, brother.
You don't
ain't
see
this
these, you don't
black.
see these
Like,
rich white black folks that own companies like marching in those
they're-
protests.
No, they
you know?
got. You see, Kanye's got the fucking hat. He's hanging out like, hey man, I'm about this business, brothers. Like,
Everybody said that
maybe-
he was only pandering to Donald Trump because he wanted to get the prison reform.
I heard
I mean, that,
something like
kind of
that.
makes sense, but I'll tell you this, dude. Kanye for
But
anything.
they're all pandering for some. That's the thing. I'm like,
Right.
this guy isn't the exception. Why won't you say that about this person? Why is he the genuine one? These people can't even run for their positions unless they have investments.
Everybody believes the person they believe with is genuine. Like there's a lot of people that love Jesse Jackson and all these guys. They think they represent the black race too. And it's like to say that either represents the black race is probably a fallacy in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Because like they're not, like I said it last time, and I repeated it from somewhere else that black people are not a monolith. Just
Right.
like white people or Native Americans or anything like that, like they're made up of hundreds of other subclasses and groups and identities, and it's like that's the problem with identity politics too, because you can continue to divide people up countless amounts. Like you can cut that cake as many times as you want until it just falls apart and disintegrates. But like you can continue to do it for a very long time.
They're already literally introducing social currency.
Oh, are they doing it?
Yeah, it's like a Black Mirror shit. It's
They're
like,
doing it here.
It's
They did it in China.
I
for
was
sure.
thinking. I was trying to think if it was Korea or
China.
Or China that they have like
China.
they're starting it up.
I
a
didn't hear
social,
anything about this.
social currency shit. You
Whoa.
can
Yeah,
walk
so-
past somebody and be like, I ain't talking to no three, dog.
It's literally Black
can't
Mirror. Have you seen that Black
No.
Mirror episode?
yeah, like I
Oh,
can't be.
geez.
seen
It's like that in
with
China.
three.
So you can only get rental cars if you have a certain
What?
social media score. It's like
That's
their
crazy.
social media score there is not really their social media score. It's their loyalty to party score. It's like so loyalty to the Communist Party score.
That's scary. Shit.
Like
Oh man.
this is where I tell people I don't want the government involved
end
in
of
social
days,
media at all.
motherfuckers.
I don't want I don't want
man.
government involved in social media data at all. I think
It's
that's
too
ridiculous.
late, man.
I
It's too
know.
late. Fucking
I know.
balls
I
deep.
still have that
Right?
position though.
Yeah,
I'll
that's-
go down on that ship because like that's the scariest thing to me
That's
too.
terrible.
You wish it wasn't the case. I do too, but it's just like, fuck.
All this was going down, they were just like they didn't pass that amendment to the National Security Authorization Act or something like that that allowed them to basically search your computer
Spray
without a
browser
warrant.
Shit, yeah.
And now they can just do it just because
we're not going
too-
to have any cool apps anymore because
That's
they
what I
don't
said. I
need our
think-
permission for shit.
I think we're being baited and switched. That's what I
Yeah.
really think it was. It's like yes, I think these topics are important, but I think the more important topic is like, hey, the government now controls everything you do. Like it now knows everything you do. It's now like it's like you said, it's gonna be like Minority Report eventually, where they said like, hey, this guy. We don't like what he's looking at online. He could be making a bomb, or he could just. Eventually, it's going to be he just expresses political ideology that I don't like. We need to send someone to his house.
That's what I'm saying. To create a patsy based
Yeah.
off. Look at this guy. Look at his beliefs. We could see the crazy signs all over the place. Tonight on Channel 9, Isaac Hughes hates Jesus and believes this, and that. He had a long history of angry posts and yada yada before he was seen at Walmart. You, my white motherfucker.
That's the first thing. Anytime that anybody ever gets popular, the first thing they do is they scrub through every single bit of media
Oh,
that you
come
put
on.
online,
Yeah.
and they try to look for any type of
Yeah.
view that is not good now.
His dark sense of humor was always the source of his
the
evil.
Joe Rogan
Yeah,
situation?
Yeah, this is fucking crazy.
Dude, he posted this thing the other day about Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz, and Joey Diaz is like openly bragging about having sex with girls to get them for them to be able to get on stage at the comedy club that he was working at, and he was kind of like a gatekeeper, but he was like bragging about it in a way. It was like 10 or 12 years ago when they first started the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joey was like doing his thing right here when he talks like this. I mean, he's Joey Diaz, he was like talking like that. And he was talking openly about it because in his mind, this was just a business deal.
Right.
In his mind, this was a bro business deal, and the
He's
females-
like, fuck them. They wouldn't fuck me if I wasn't famous. So
He
it's
was
like, fuck them anyway.
So
Fuck-
he's known for being like overboard with the way that he talks about situations.
he talks
He'll-
about kidnapping people and robbing them for coke and all kinds
and
of
sometimes
shit.
you wonder if was it true or was he just like making it.
I believe he's very liberated when he speaks. I know a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
cats like him, man, and he feels like he's fucking it's therapeutic for him to talk about that
Yeah,
shit.
so he talks about it and has never gotten in trouble for it. But like Joe Rogan's there listening. And this is Joe Rogan's old friend, so like he's dying laughing because the way Joey's telling the story is he's telling it in a funny way. He's a
Right,
comedian, like
right.
that's just what he does.
It
But,
just
like,
keeps going. I know you didn't do that. Oh fuck yeah, I did that shit. Ah ha ha ha. How many people? Like fucking 20, motherfucker. Ah,
and Joe's over here like
yeah.
tearing up, like over here like dying laughing, tearing up, but also super uncomfortable. And people are trying to get Joe Rogan's Spotify deal canceled because of that. That they scrubbed through a decade of freaking video footage to find that. So
then to find something where somebody else says some fucked up shit,
While you're in the room.
and then you just mad at the other guy, like for laughing, or even if it was awkward laughter or whatever, just for what, enabling him, or like to fucking get mad at the other guy. And I love Joey Diaz.
You know what it is? It's because the reason they're doing it is because Joe Rogan is becoming a little bit more conservative as he goes through the, as he talks to more people. He's become a little bit more conservative.
I think I heard him say like an episode or two ago that he never thought that he would have to be responsible like this, the way like what he started whenever put him in a position where he was speaking for people, and now he's like, this kind of sucks.
But he always considered himself like a liberal, growing up all through the years and whatnot. Still considered himself a Democrat, but like as he starts talking to more people, he's like really pro Second Amendment.
I think he's like a conservative that doesn't think that like feelings are stupid.
Right,
like,
no,
you know what I mean? He's just like, we can have it all.
I really feel like he's middle line classical liberal. Like, we'll fix what we. That's what I consider myself, middle line classical liberal. We're like, if we can fix a problem, let's discuss how we can fix it. But let's not go fixing things that we don't have enough information or understand, because we could screw up the situation beyond measure. Right? Because a lot of times the worst situations happen from you over messing with stuff. Like you just
without taking the proper.
Yeah, you don't. You think you know more than you know. You think you have more details than you actually do.
Just diving in,
So when people say like, oh, the whole black crime statistic and things like that, and all, it's deep. It goes deep. Like you have to understand this. Like, you have to understand how the statistics work. You can't just quote one statistic and think you're going to fix the world based on that statistics. Like people did that with the 78 cents on a dollar thing for women. Like they thought they had enough information that women aren't making enough money. But if you go deeper, you realize it's because of personal choices to go and have families and things like that. What people are essentially arguing, they knew this when they started this argument. They were arguing that women should be able to go have families and still get paid at their job.
It's like the Candace Owens thing. She's constantly doing like the statistics of white people get killed more and more and yada yada. It's like, why don't you ever post the unarmed statistics? Like that's the one everyone's interested in, and yada yada. But also, why is this and that? And like, why are you trying to do one side?
Everybody's cherry picking their statistics to support their.
I love. Those are some of the memes that I do love, where it's just like, man, I love apples. So you fucking hate oranges and bananas? No, I just like apples a lot. So why the fuck don't you care about bananas and oranges? It's like, I'm not saying I don't. Just at this moment, I'm eating an apple. You're a real piece of shit.
People aren't even having the same
good point.
arguments. People aren't having the same arguments.
Different conversation altogether.
Like when people take the Black Lives Matter, for example. You don't think people say all lives matter, like the people that say all lives matter, and they say, well, you can't say all lives matter because you're basically negating Black Lives Matter. And they say, no. What their argument they're making is that, all lives matter, and we're including black people in that. And then black people are saying, yeah, but if you wouldn't put water on your house if it wasn't on fire, the black house is on fire right now. We need to pay attention to that one. So people are having.
I always tell people, like, we're trying to get to feel like all lives matter with you. It's like that's not the feeling we have. So we're feeling less than like our lives don't matter as much. So we're trying to get to that all lives comfort level that you're at, and then we can all say it together, and it'll be beautiful. But when something's just made to counter something else, it's never gonna like go smoothly. It's like when they had like a men's march, it's opposite of like the women's march. It's like, come on, guys, you guys are just. This is literally created to fucking ruffle feathers. You're gonna piss people off.
But here's the thing: like, there's things with like. The women's march happened because, and the same reason that the BLM marches happened, because historically there has been oppression, right? Those things existed, and people are still kind of getting used to their rights and getting used to this new position in society that's available to them, right? So it's difficult. So they need these structures and specialty marches and channels and information to kind of build themselves up and feel like they are at equal playing field, right? So I understand that. But like what some people say that men also have lots of white males have certain problems in society too. Like, the idea that men can't talk about their feelings, right? Like men can't talk, and then one day you're just going to keep it all here, and then one day you just die, right? You're going to die of a heart attack. That's it. Or you're going to kill yourself, that kind of thing. Because men suicide statistics are extreme compared to women's, right? And there's like men have to do more dangerous jobs and things like that. So what I think we're figuring out is that the answer to everything isn't total equity, right? The difference between equity and equality. Like equality is like the equal opportunity. Equity is equal outcome, no matter what you do, right? And I think a lot of people are kind of blindly seeking equity,
right?
Like because it's a simple way of like viewing it. Like, everybody has the same thing, okay? And you let them work their first job, and you realize, so that guy over there that just stands in the corner and doesn't work while you make all the lattes, should that person be getting paid the same amount? You're like, no. Right. So everybody on a personal level does not agree with equity, but for some reason we think it's a good thing to fight for politically. It's because it sounds good. Everybody gets what's everybody gets the good thing no matter what happens. And like, what we don't realize is that personal choice really is a cause of a lot of problems. So what we have to do, I think, this is just my opinion, I think we have to create an environment where people's personal choices are steered in a direction that is beneficial. Because right now, with our welfare state and stuff like that, there's a lot of people that are in these lives of crime and stuff like that that don't want to change. It's not beneficial to them to change.
Right.
You know, they make more money, and they also don't want to, like, men don't want to get married to women and stuff these days, especially in the black community. The single motherhood rate is at 86% or something like that. It's insane.
Yeah.
And the reason that being is because the government incentivized that, and I think it was on purpose. I think it was a conspiracy from the lawmakers to incentivize a single-parent household, or maybe it was in the best interest where they were trying to.
It's the entertainment industry too. It's promoting that you just bang as many chicks as you can.
Person that I've actually heard say that openly to me without me saying it first.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's written all over the wall. Any music videos, movies you see, you get the most girls, you have the most social currency. It's just like. It seems like almost like a vulnerable thing to be held down by somebody, or like it's so dumb, or people think they're missing out if they don't seize opportunities that maybe they should have years ago and they didn't, and they're trying to recapture some magic or something. It's super weird.
Well, it's also because of the way the prison system is and the way that black males are unequally put in prison compared to white men. And make up a large percentage of our population. I don't remember the exact statistic. I was watching 13 the other day, the Ava DuVernay. I worked for her, and I still can't say that last name every single time. DuVernay. Is it DuVernay?
I don't know. You're doing better than me.
Anyway, she makes great stuff.
Okay.
But she put out something on basically saying that, like, you know, the prison colony. I mean, the prison system is essentially like a new plantation or the new, you know, prison colony that we're putting there. And we're putting black males there. And when I extrapolate on that, I don't remember if this was in her documentary or not, but imagine taking, you know, half of the male population out of any race and putting them in jail. Now you have a situation for what I would call extreme sexual selection amongst females. Maybe I heard Brett Weinstein say this. Not Eric Weinstein. Brett Weinstein, he's a biologist, a evolutionary biologist. And he was saying anytime that you take where you don't have as many males as females in a population, then the females become not very selective at all, and the men have no incentive to tie themselves down because they have an endless harem of women to choose from. This is like in different animal species too, different social animal species. Monogamy is not encouraged when there's not many dudes.
Pretty taboo.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't have to do. So like you do that, and you encourage women to get money whenever they have children, as long as they're not married. And so you don't legally or socially bind this man into this relationship, then you have a recipe for disaster in the sense that the child is not going to grow up in a two-parent household. And we know statistically that is one of the main gauges for success on a broad scale. I mean, you can go to anecdotal situations where you've had great single parents, but on the generality of it, a single parent's not going to be able to provide the same type of parenting for a child. And now take that single parent who's now working day in and day out to make money to try to get out of the projects or try to get out of where they're at. And
it's just
they
different.
they can't parent the same way because
just
they're
different.
working.
Yeah, it could be the
Right.
best single parent you can, but if you had two great parents, it'd be probably just better off.
You could just have two okay parents,
Right.
and it would
Right.
still be better than just having one parent. I'm not
Right.
saying This is not
Yeah.
crapping on anybody that's had a situation. I'm just saying that, like, anytime you and they also have different personalities too. You get different ingredients.
You can
into your
learn
life.
a lot. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I can base it on my family, just thinking about my experience with my dad versus my mom versus my brother. I learned so much just observing each of them differently, and how my brother responded to my parents versus how I wanted to respond to, you know, like, and how he responded in school. It's like that's who you're learning from.
Yeah.
If you only have one source of that, you know, you have nothing else to really reflect on or relate to. It can screw you up.
And that
for
combination of masculine and feminine too, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing two different personalities from two different genders right there in front of you, and it's kind of making you a balanced.
And the thing
human
is,
being.
if at the core a person had enough self-confidence to begin with, then it's like they would have what it takes to give that kid that, like, all-around experience. It's not like they won't be so one-sided and emotional and irrational, because as a mature adult, hopefully at the time, it's like you can make decisions responsibly and process things and go through the proper channels to communicate and express yourself without having to go completely psychotic and still remain a good example for the person you're raising. And just like, you know, if you were doing if a single parent or two parents, you know, work hard, be a good person, whatever, eat your vegetables, all that kind of good stuff. And you just took that, and you weren't codependent too, to think that like, in a shittier situation because I have nobody else to rely on. That's already, you're not giving yourself enough credit. And it's just, it should feel like cheating having somebody else with you. Like, this is overkill. This kid's getting all the love, all the knowledge kind of deal. Like, because I alone could do this shit. You know what I mean? Not to discredit anybody else, but it's like, I feel like I can do this shit by my fucking self.
There's a whole movement, you know, the beautiful black woman don't need no man, that kind of thing. You know, you ever seen that meme?
Because it's good to not just be bitter all the time, or like, why don't I have what they have? Or, man, I wish I had that. Why? Like, you don't know what all the kind of shit they're arguing about in that house, and with all the fucking Facebook photos, you see the best versions of everything. You might be better off fucking single. Like, you don't need all that to have fun with your son and go on vacations or do whatever. It's like, you should have confidence in.
Well, but that goes back to you know, if you're gonna raise the kid, you need to provide.
Yeah.
And if you have some sort of income coming in, then sure, that's fine. But if you're, you know, making any kind of wage that's not enough, you're just not going to be able to do anything outside of work.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that social currency that comes with sex. Just from people would sleep with somebody to get everybody else's reaction of it more so than they wanted to sleep with that person. Can't even remember what they talked about, but they know if I tell Jimmy I fucking banged Cindy, then your boy's getting some clout. I'm getting invited to the party. I'm doing this and that. People are gonna respect me a little bit more. Maybe this girl will like me because she know this girl doesn't just mess with anybody or something.
Yeah.
If people didn't feel like they had to do stuff like that to get ahead and have people like them more, the whole pyramid of how we live would fucking change. That kind of trickle down effect. I mean, you're talking about dudes that respect other dudes that crush it all the time. That goes, we're talking Stone Age shit, like fucking Big Hank, he fuck, clap for him. We don't know why, but we give him extra fruit. I don't know why. This guy's fucking awesome. He succeeded
in something. Like
man, it's like, at what though? Something you could do by yourself and achieve the same goal. You know what I mean? It's like, what is he fucking accomplishing? I don't understand. Like,
he's displaying sexual.
For me, it would be like if you were like a pro volleyball player, I'd be like, cool, you know, just a normal person, bad and good, other things, and exceptional volleyball player. My friend Tim, he can pull girls. Outside of that, he's a good accountant and whatever. Like, it's not just like, yo, my man gets girls, so he's in. Like, he's an asshole, but just deal with him.
I arrested a dude in his like 50s when I was policing, and me and him have just talked. He was a cool dude, but he was like very just like. He was kind of trashy, but he was a cool dude. Like, he was very smooth talker, and otherwise a nice guy. But man, he bragged the entire time in the cop car. It was like a simple thing that he was going to jail for. It was nothing big deal. It was like a failure to appear on like a traffic ticket or something. He was bragging that he had over like 70 children in the county. Whoa! Like what? And he said it was like his life is like it's a man's life to spread his seed everywhere he can. Yeah. He was like very like. Just like very like serious about that. Like, that's what he's like, you know, if I ain't gonna have a family, I'm gonna make sure that my genetics live on. And I'm like, that's a primal way of looking at it.
That's like straight up salmon upstream type shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna go up there and die, and I want to.
That's all he cared about, was having lots of children. He didn't care that he was involved closely in their lives. He just wanted to have lots of genetic spread. And I was like, wow. Like, that's completely. I remember that blowing my mind. I never thought about it that way. Like, I always thought about, like, you're trying to develop a relationship with a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, and bank on a small number of children. And when I say a small number, under 10, right? Children with that person that you can raise in a you know, stable environment and raise good people. That's what I always thought. But then I see this guy's like, no, accuracy by volume. I'm like, man,
something will stick.
I mean,
something will stick.
You got
Throw
good
it
chances.
all at the wall, yeah.
Right, he was like bragging. It was like almost like a biblical brag, you know. And he had 73 children before his 900th year.
He needs his validation right there. Yeah. Big fella says it's cool, so like it. I'm in.
That's a whole other thing, man. People use religion to justify anything. Just like they use ideology. People are religious creatures, man. They're going to use whatever they can say that's an appeal to authority. That's what I say. When people are appealing to this like one thing in the Bible to justify the thing they want to do, and they use it out of context, it's the same thing when people use statistics. They don't understand what the statistics really talking about, and they don't take it in context, or they use a person that's a so-and-so expert, and they appeal to that authority, which is a logical fallacy, by the way. They appeal to that authority and say, I believe this because of that. This expert said it. It's the same thing as saying, and God said so. God's a little more powerful and omniscient, right? And the idea, but it's still saying, like, if you're against me, you're against science. And you're like, you just picked a statistic. That's not science. That's like a piece of the puzzle.
I always just tell people when it gets to the point of like not even promoting their own religion, but like bashing somebody else's. It's just like, and just imagine you were born in a different country, or that,
and we're back to another
2
country.
or 3 wars, were won by different people. You're defending a whole different God right now. I promise you, defending a whole different. Maybe in a perfect world, you believe in fate and whatever, and there was no scenario where you didn't wind up praising who you praise now. And I'm also open to that because that's kind of cool to me. But come on, like if you were born in the heart of Saudi Arabia and you were raised there, you might not have the same, you might not mirror the same beliefs that you do right now. You might think certain things are right, certain things are wrong. Same if you came up in the diamond mine somewhere. It's just you wouldn't have the same view as you did growing up with one of these fuckers in your life consistently. And
that's insane, isn't it?
It blows my mind, especially when you talk to like older people.
5 times the power of what they sent somebody in the moon with, like rooms of computers. Like this could send somebody to the moon, technically, computing power. It's like, what?
We didn't go to the fucking moon, man.
You don't think we went to the moon?
No.
Really?
We didn't go to the fucking
Why?
moon.
Okay, we got like 10 minutes in this.
I'm about to say, this might have to be for part 2.
Tell me why we didn't.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We would have gone back already. We would have made so much money off the moon by now. We would have had Moon Week on the Discovery Channel.
What's on the moon, though? Like, what's there that we can get?
Not Earth. And it's fascinating.
Well, yeah, but
not Earth is what's on the moon.
What are the materials that the moon is consisted of? That are they materials that we can't get here? Do you know? Have you taken the time to check that out?
I mean, I would just go for an HD rover, just driving figure 8s around the room. I don't even care what kind of experiments they did. It's almost like the same interest I had in the ocean.
Like flex a little bit. Come on.
Cool. I don't know anything about it, but if a documentary's on, I'm fucking, oh shit, that kind of shit goes on in the ocean. These things create lights and whatever. Like, just journeying to the moon or creating a fucking they would have a reality show by now of fucking when these 2 guys get in the cockpit, what's gonna happen? Where's my Sprite? Like, you know, all this stupid shit. And
what's an astronaut? And he's like in an astronaut suit.
like, I just feel like it would have been like such a marketable annual for something so sophisticated to be accomplished so long ago. I think we would have done stuff with the moon by now that would have been like, okay, we're bored of the fucking moon.
Well,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen all that shit, and we did the thing.
Did you see For All Mankind? It's the Apple show.
No.
It's like it's an alternate timeline if the Russians made it to the moon before us.
I think I heard something about that.
It's actually great.
Is it?
And like there's
funny.
putting like
What's
moon
it called
bases on the For All Mankind.
For
It's
All
on Apple
Mankind.
TV.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
So but like they do like moon bases and they're trying to gather ice from the moon crater to like, and they're like dealing with all these like inter national relationships between them and Russia and China. And all
Well,
that stuff.
so I guess my question is, I feel like we chose satellites more than trying to go to the moon.
I
There's
believe
like a
we've
lot
been
of
to the moon in that regard, like mechanically. I don't think a person has ever
Oh,
been to
okay.
the moon.
I guess, well,
But why not a person?
yeah.
Because why not again, ever?
Yeah.
That's the only thing
So-
with me. It's like, why
Well,
not?
always gonna get me
Let's
when
say
you
you
say,
have
how
limited
do we fake it? How?
you have limited resources, right? So let's say you have X amount of resources that and time that you want to put and effort you want to put into certain things, right? So maybe it's also an interest thing. I don't know, like NASA's more interested in Mars.
But for me, it's like, did we cover and do so much shit on the moon that we're just like,
no, yeah, there should be
the
more coverage for
moon,
sure.
like, well, I know Mars is sexy.
There
but
should-
let's
there should
fucking-
definitely
the
be
moon
more
has been
coverage for
around. It's
sure.
fucking solid. It's a good build.
It also could be people dying. How many rockets exploded on that journey to try to figure that out? You know,
But I
Like,
mean, like,
it's
how?
super high
But
risk,
I mean, like,
and it's
we're to the
so
point
much
now
resources.
where rockets are going up and landing right back the fuck
Well,
down.
that's
Like, it's like this
still new. That's new. That's Elon Musk doing SpaceX.
But still,
Shout out to Elon.
it still gives us
Shout out if you see it.
It still kind of gives us a gauge of where we were to where we are now. And to
Well,
me,
totally.
it's like,
But again, like I don't know how much a spaceship costs. but I am sure it is a lot, and I don't know how many
It's about tree fading.
it would take to, or if however how many blew up for you to decide you didn't want to explore that option. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of resources.
Yeah,
so
but then
as
meanwhile,
technology
like,
has improved, and now that we have SpaceX,
We did other moonwalks.
but we
though.
go into orbit all the time.
right.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
did,
like
we did more moon missions other than just that one, didn't we?
I think so.
Man, I have no
We did.
idea.
I think we did. You just
I
don't
just-
hear about those people's
Yeah.
names because they're like, not Buzz,
Yeah,
not Neil, we
there's-
don't care.
Yeah.
I think there's like 2 other ones, but I just don't know of any of them which are like I don't know that they're
So you think it was like all done in like a
fucking
studio and
real,
like with
man.
wires on and
some of those wired videos look super suspect.
Yeah?
Some of them are like I don't fucking get it. I'm not good enough at science. But also I'm
Not
just
good enough at science. You just gotta look it up.
but I'm also just like why have it? I feel like we would do so much more, and it's not slowing us down from exploring anything with Mars. I feel like the hardest part of launching somebody is the launch
But-
itself, and we go into orbit all the time. So it's like that part of the risk seems to be figured. There's always going to be a chance, but it's probably like driving a car. It's like you're probably going to be okay, but there's a chance. But at this point, we're going changing oils and the satellites and whatever. Just like we're going into orbit, but now it's just like, what are we doing now? Now Mars seems to be a hot topic.
I kind of want to do some research on this because, like, I don't know how many astronauts are in space at all all times. Like, I don't really
There's a
know
fuck
what's
ton.
going on.
There's a fuck ton of people that have been like in orbit.
Yeah.
I was finding out. There's even that show, One Strange Rock, if you've ever seen it.
yeah, Will
That's
Smith.
fucking amazing. Talking to those astronauts and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I can't tell me they wouldn't take some of those shots and just do it from the moon or something, like by now or something. I don't know, just even for money, just for like pique people's curiosity.
I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I could see.
It's like we know more about space than the ocean.
I'll say this: the only thing that makes me think that the moon landing would even be faked at all is just the motive, the motive in general. Like the motive
The race,
was
like the space
to make
race.
the Soviet Union bleed resources
Yeah.
to get that to happen because they didn't have the same type of economy that we had. They couldn't just print money and things like that. We had an endless amount of money due to modern monetary theory, so we were able to just throw money at the problem essentially because everybody was using our currency, not theirs. So they ran out of money, and that was the whole goal. So I wonder if that's the only. When you look at the motive, and the motive is strong enough,
Yeah.
like if you're investigating a murder, you go, well, there's got to be a strong enough motive.
Right.
And otherwise, we're dealing with a serial killer who's just random, right? So it's like I don't think that would be the case. So motive alone, we had
And I
plenty
feel like
motive.
just based off of feelings alone, I feel like it wouldn't be the first time in human history that a kind of misguided goal or something happened, and then you just make lemonade out of that shit until the chosen one speaks up on the prophecy or something. But it's just
You would
like,
just think at this
yeah,
point
that's
there-
what happened. Einstein came up with that. That's what happened. Sorry,
You just think at
other-
this point it would have came out too. The amount of people that are involved in a conspiracy, that's the only thing that keeps me away from the conspiracy. The amount of people that have to be involved in a
Yeah.
government conspiracy. I know people
And
that
how
work in government.
organized it would have to be.
And there's art like look how
It's just some
look
of
at
the
the amount of
skittish
leaks in the-
stuff. Like, okay, like even
Yeah.
to go back, how about we lost and damaged all that fucking moon landing footage? You know, the most important event that ever fucking happened.
You didn't make it back up?
ever,
Nothing?
ever. Let's at least just go get new images, better video, and have that for our museums and the kids to learn on. Let's just go back just fucking once. We don't
Yeah,
have
I mean-
just once. We ruined the most. How many canisters of film? Like the most important event ever. Like this is the biggest thing humans have ever
Well, I mean,
accomplished.
maybe at the
All
time
the
we
footage?
should go now. If anything, we should definitely go now and film that. I can definitely.
I mean,
agree
that
on
shit affects our ocean, everything.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be
Yeah.
fascinating to learn more.
Yeah.
If they had an HD shit with the moon, I'd be
Yeah.
all tuned in, man.
yeah,
Let's go.
but-
Let's get Elon Musk on the show. We'll talk to him.
It's
Get-
done. I'm
get-
texting him
He's
now.
he's watching right now.
Yeah,
just
get
says-
he's
gives
one
us
of
a
the
thumbs up.
5 people watching.
Oh, I thought
and-
that said Ellen.
and,
got-
Okay.
Hey, at one point we had
So-
like 16.
yeah.
Hey, hey.
At one time.
Fucking
At
A.
one
For a
time.
while too, and then we started being boring, so people left.
Yeah.
I'm really self-conscious.
And
about
we're
that.
They're
actually
boring.
coming up on 3 hours.
yeah, it's right on 3 hours. So
Wow.
we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. It took us a while to get kind of winded up on some stuff. But we
Yeah,
kind of started
totally.
feeling like we could talk about some
We
stuff.
got
but
there.
We got it. We
Mhm.
got it. But yeah, so you guys leave us some comments and ask us some questions for the next one, and who you suggest maybe we should have on. I don't think right now we don't have anybody scheduled.
Yeah.
We can always do Justice. That's always a point.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
should.
Like I said,
Justice
totally
would be a
should.
great one.
He'd be an easy one to get to too. So
Justice.
Yeah.
Hit up Travis, too,
Yeah.
man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we can
Travis
have
is
Travis.
great.
Yeah.
interesting,
absolutely.
interesting perspective on things.
Travis Gomez, world
Yeah.
famous
Oh, yeah.
fight coordinator in Justice League, world famous actor.
The one and only.
Man, we've got all the cool people to
Yeah.
invite on our show for all 5 people to watch it.
But yeah, thanks
Alright.
everyone who
For now.
watched, and we're probably gonna post the HD version of this
Yep.
as well. But yeah,
Yeah, we're definitely going to post the HD version. This is just live, but yeah, thanks for being involved in our little experiment
And-
for our live session.
and make sure you have conversations on your own too.
For sure.
And again, my name's Hamid Thompson,
I'm Cody Robinson.
and this is Keep It Going with
Yeah.
Isaac
Hey.
Hughes.
Yay!
Yeah, have a good one. Bye.
All right, bye.
I'm going to put this on.